we're going to talk about some really fun stuff too. It's going to be about aspects of fishing that are very important. And it has to do with your experience throughout your fishing areas, and whether it be saltwater, surf fishing, bass fishing, trout fly fishing. I look at all and travel. I looked at all my experiences, Phil, and I looked back and I thought, what did I derive from each of these, and how can I implement them in other areas? And as it turns out, most of the stuff all crosses over. So nothing beats experience that you have. And what it takes is being able to take it out of, say, bass fishing, take it out of even travel, or even fly fishing. I've absolutely used some of the fly fishing mentality to catch saltwater fish, So it has to be, you have to be able to willing and able to take from your experiences and implement them in different areas, because there's times when it works. And if you get your mind set on just doing things certain ways, you're going to lose. You'll lose. You have to constantly go back through your head and implement them in different areas of fishing. You're going to find that's going to make a huge difference. So that's one of the key things we'll talk about. One of the things that I was told about by my old mentor, Taka Tanaka, is his thing was keep your eyes open, your ears open, and your mouth shut. But you're constantly processing, doing it all the whole time. And there's many times I've seen pro fishermen with a certain arrogance, and this is the only way to do things. Just eat it, because they don't go outside that box. They're set in their ways. They stay in that, on that, what would you say? It's like a railroad track, and you stay on that track. You just keep going around rather than going off and implementing different methodologies and techniques from other aspects of fishing, because you're going to find they're going to work. And I'm going to analogies in a while as we go along, but
Perfect.
the whole thing is to really, utilize all your experiences and everything, and put it together when you need it, or at least try it. Because Phil could tell you, Phil's seen me fish a few times, even in taking kids trout fishing. You do things that are a little different what people are doing at that time. And what have you got to lose? So when you're trying things, you start, you're going to find that different techniques have evolved out of different methods. I've seen, the days when we dropper looped, right? Well, when we started bass fishing, started doing the drop shots and things, they all evolve out of some form of fishing. But to be able to take those experiences out of the different facets of fishing and implement them, that's where it can come in handy. I mean, I've even done that with fly fishing, and I had a lot of problems with fly fishermen saying, well, this is the way they do things. They do it. The fish will do this. No, the fish are going to do whatever they want to do. It's up to you to figure it out. And I've watched guys, only want to have this mentality. I only want to get them on dry fly. You know what? You have to be able and willing to explore all the different modes, which means nymph fishing, fish. It's figuring it out is what makes fishing what it is. And those that are successful keep trying, keep innovating, keep playing around. I mean, it's not a set thing that you go to a stream and you catch them on a dry fly every time. They have the nymphs might be going off. You have to figure it out by trying. And all I can tell you is through experience, it has not been 100%, but it certainly has helped, in my catches over the years with everything. It's drawing from all the different aspects, including travel trips, like I say, fly fishing, you know, you name it, it's keeping that going. So,
Danny, that sounds great. It's good to see you, my friend. And there is so much going on. We've already got a ton of questions. I know you've got a certain agenda you want to get to, but
I don't, yeah, we'll get to that. Let's get to the questions. We'll hit everybody hot.
To the questions, everybody out there, give us a like. We would appreciate that. There goes another like right there. Didn't even
Loving it.
Make sure you subscribe. We just hit 9,000 subscribers, and we thank you all so very, very much for that. You can share this live broadcast right now by clicking on the share button and say, hey man, Danny Kadota's on right now. You can ask him a question. That would be great also. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. It's always great to be with you. Danny, just a quick roundup of some breaking news.
Sure,
and
sure,
then I'll
let's
get
do
to the
it.
questions.
Sure.
But we've got yellowfin tuna pushing towards San Diego. More and more getting in there. Brad Phillips, you know Brad.
Oh, yeah.
He's down there at Bahia Tortuga. Just talked to a lift pole guy. He said he filled the boat with 20, 25-pound yellowfin tuna in 17 hours. He's never done it before.
Oh.
He's behind Bonitas. He's got a code group fishing 30 miles south of him. Same thing, same kind of fishing.
All on the pole.
Fish are all headed southwest, right towards San Diego. And he said, get ready to get bombarded by those.
Hang on.
So that's coming up. Now, today, we had local boats here with over 100 barracuda. How do you like that, man? The
Oh, my
barracuda's
God.
starting to bite.
Well, you know what? Nothing's better than getting your iron practice in than a barracuda. I can
Oh,
guarantee
my
you that. It's exciting. It's a blast.
My brother just flew in from Taiwan, and he's up at Ventura with my niece, Connie, Dr. Friedman.
I saw some of the pictures.
Yeah, okay.
On
And
Facebook.
we went fishing, and we got to catch those barracuda on the iron. And Danny, there's nothing better, man.
Oh, that's it.
I put the camera down on some barracuda.
You know, I can remember on Fridays to fuel up. You know, crew would come down, fuel up, and we'd take the boat out, and we're looking outside, and the guys are on the horseshoe whacking barracuda. Well, we wouldn't even take bait. We would just haul the Mustang out there, put the pick down, sit back, and just throw iron. Crew and myself, those were some of the best days ever. Just having fun. Even if we're shaking them off, it didn't matter. But it was just getting the bite on the surface iron from the barracuda. I think that's why God made surface iron, initially, especially for local guys.
We had so
That
much
was
fun,
awesome.
Danny.
Yeah.
We've got that going on. We got this yellowfin tuna around. There's still the bluefin, obviously, is still a thing. What say you about albacore? Have you lost faith? Here we are past July the 4th. The water's
No,
still
I don't
cool.
know. You know, there's still stuff on the outside that there's no word coming in over it. The fact that you probably won't, especially if they're jig boats. Boats can spin circles, just run circles and pull fish all day.
Yeah.
You know, you get a bait boat out there, the bait boat crew, you can clean house in a day. Yeah, I mean, you put on serious tonnage in a day of bait fishing. So, and especially with the money that they're getting for them. So, I think it'll stay quiet. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say till we actually have boats out there. There's really no need in running out there.
I know.
With the kind of fishing that we have here. It's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
that's so true. So
Phenomenal.
true.
Yeah.
The Pride got in today. Limits of white.
Wow.
Bunch of halibut, bunch of
Wow.
nice yellowtail.
Oh.
The Amigo 22 mixed halibut, sea bass, yellowtail. I mean, wow. Fishing's
Phenomenal.
Really starting to come on.
Phenomenal fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only going to get better.
Yeah, just kind of spin the bottle, take your pick where you want to go. You can't lose. No, it's awesome.
Tons of people watching the Danny Kadota Show already. Tommy Tar is a skipper. What was your best days fishing? Running a boat. What was your best
Oh
days
my
fishing?
God. I can't. Tommy, let me think about that. I'll come back. I mean, we've had some, there's stuff we had to walk away from. Got that even like with
I'm
albacore.
sure you can't pick one
It
day.
could, no, it's tough. I mean, and you have to pick your species where, Tommy, let me tell you about one day we had where it was with big eyes. We were bit the whole day, and at the time, the hot reel was, I had to have one. I had one that happened to have one. It was a 6/0, newelled out. Of course, the drags are still about that big, right? Newelled out with a 655 heavy. They came up and ate the 80 right on the spot. You just hand feed them. You underhand it, you're bit. And I think we had like 3 to 5 fish. And those fish spooled basically everything we had on the boat. There weren't enough big reels and the right rods and everything for it. So you back to the dock and guys go, well, how's your fishing? We says, phenomenal. He says, well, you guys only had 3 fish. I says, well, everything that was in the water was bit. We didn't put much on because they either got spooled, the tackle got busted up, the people got busted up, and that could have possibly been one of those days. It wasn't productive, but everything that hit the water got bit. So I mean,
That's
how do you
pretty
judge that? It
memorable.
could have, yeah. I mean, you look at it now with the tackle we have now, Tommy. It would have been a slaughter probably. You know, I think we ended up with, I think it was 3 or 4 fish. But I mean, we were bit all day, went through all our bait, and it got to the point where passengers would just go up and sit on the Mustang. We had that area where you could sit back at the galley, and they would just watch. And they're screaming and yelling and cheering us. And as dumb crew members, we were the only ones left fishing. And we got humbled. We got our behinds kicked because we didn't have enough of the right tackle. And the tackle back then, like I said, you know, a 6-aught, I had it newelled out. I thought I had the hot setup. No comparison to the tackle we have today. We could have done a number on them. But, you know, when you look at how we were bit the entire time, it was phenomenal. That could have very easily been the best thing. We just didn't put anything on, very little on the boat.
That is awesome. Dan Smith says, good evening, Captain Danny, Phil, all you fishing folks watching. Yellowfin tuna out front. Hook up. He's super excited.
Absolutely. The yellowfin are good. I mean, and I hear they're school-sized fish. They're not too small. They're not the little tiny footballs. So that's a lot of fun. It's something a little bit different, you know. God, what can we say? The only thing missing is those long finners. But I still think they're outside. They're just being, you know, very quiet about that. I still, you know, but we won't know. And it's going to be tough. Who's going to go out there now that you got a tremendous bluefin, settle a jackpot? Go fish the bluefin.
Yeah.
You want to catch a fish that everybody can catch? Go target these yellowfin that chew.
Yes.
You know, so
you know
it's a win-win deal for for the boats right now and for the consumers. So it's going to be luxury. Those little long fins are going to have to stick their noses in a little closer, I think, for anybody to run out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Tommy Tar says, hey, the 3/4 day boat out of Dana Point today. Got a bluefin tuna also. Getting crazy.
Oh yeah, we like that.
Got some
We love it.
good fish,
We love
bluefin.
crazy.
Jeff Yeomans, 540 Slingers Club says, good evening, Phil, Danny, and the FA family. You are a big part of that family. Jeff, thanks for being
Awesome.
here. Cue Ball wants to say hello. Wild Willie says, good evening. David Rosenthal, another great guy.
Awesome.
Good evening, everybody. Cue Ball says, right, Omar, the CDK show is my absolute favorite. Captain Danny Kadota Show on YouTube now. Glad to be here live. I hope I didn't miss much. Omar, we're just getting rolling.
We're just
here,
getting
right,
cranked. We're just getting cranked up. Yeah, we're just leaving the dock now. We're gonna get into. We'll put the jigs in the water in a little bit.
Omar, thanks for being here, my friend.
right.
Cue Ball just started, man. You're good. So he's loving it also, Danny. PNS Harnack, good evening. Mr. Kadota, is there a specific stateroom on the American Angler you prefer over others? Or a specific bunk? Anything that you
Well,
like
it's
better
all
than
it's
any
all
other?
staterooms. It's all staterooms. But you know what? I'm starting to get older. Since I had both knees cut, I've had both knee replacements.
Yes.
Lori, God bless Lori, gives my partner Jeff and I, and we're the same age, one of the staterooms on deck, and there's a couple on the galley level, which
I like
is nice
that.
for us.
Like the Polaris
Yes,
room, I used
yeah,
to get in
yeah.
those myself.
You may walk a little bit more,
Yes,
not
you
much,
do.
but it's you can't even feel it.
Convenient.
Yeah, and with the way the fishing was this last, we cut our 8-day short because of the weather factor, and the 8 turned into a 5. Now, generally, I was licking my chops doing this, knowing that there's some big tails down the Lejos. But if you really think about it, the 8 days, it's two days to run down there and 2 days to get back. The 5 days that we fished, we had unbelievable fishing from day one all the way through. I mean, we got out there the first night, and we got bent on these big, these beautiful bluefin on the rail rods. And the only thing where the weather was up, and only the big boats were really outside there, the big Cadillacs, the long range guys. And for good reason. I mean, we literally, first time I took one over the rail, and I pinned to the rail on a fish.
Wow.
Came over, got me. The water came in the scuppers. I looked toward the bow. I see a wall of water coming down, and lo and behold, for the first time, I filled both my boots. And then having to put them down in the engine room to dry off overnight. But
Oh my God.
phenomenal fishing. I mean, and it's just, what can you say? And it was like that all 5 days. So, we got 5 tremendous days of fishing with some diversity, some of the best rock cod fishing we ever seen, and then we came on the inside, and we heard about some of the yellowfin in there, but we ended up catching more bluefin inside. I mean, folks, just go fishing. You can't go wrong. I mean, it's phenomenal.
I
It's good
love
fishing.
it. Jeff Yeomans, 540 Slinger Club. Danny, with the Barracuda showing up better in numbers, could you suggest a surface line to throw at them? We were throwing a Tatty C single hook. I like single hook because it's
Single
so
hooks.
easy to
You
get
grab,
the arm.
well, you don't have to get your hand near the mouth. You
Right.
grab the jig and you
Yes.
got a nice handle, and you can shake it either
Exactly.
released or in your gunny sack.
sack.
Either way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Do
Yeah.
you like that Tatty
I
C?
do.
You have
I like
another
single
favorite
hooks.
jig?
For
Yeah,
I do like single hooks.
yeah.
I do like single hooks. It's almost too much of a pain when you have a treble, because then if you got to grab them, you have the slime factor.
Yes,
So
exactly,
yes,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we were just really watching the birds. That is so important to pay attention. You'd watch them; they're pretty much circling the boat because we have these big sea lions.
Yeah.
So you just watch the birds, make a cast like in front of where the birds were going.
Or where they're hovering.
Yes.
You'll see them do
Yes.
this, and you just fire
Yes.
past them, and just wind through it, and more than likely you're going to get hacked.
There you go. All
Yeah.
right, Jeff. I hope that helps. Hit the like button, guys. Says Band 70, and we appreciate that so much. Hit that like button. Share Danny's show while he is live right now. Get more people on here. We deeply appreciate you all joining us here tonight. Blue Sky says, hello, Phil. Hello, Danny. Cue
Hey,
ball.
hey.
Just got a new jig stick set up. I can't wait. Mag 9 with a Trinidad 20.
Oh yeah.
Danny, is there anything better than catch a barracuda on the iron?
No, you can't beat it. You cannot beat it. I mean, you talk about fun. Like I said, we used to go fuel the boat on Fridays, the Mustang, and the crew, just the crew. We come out there and just have our jig sticks. And I think it's like I am now. I lose your voice. We lose our voice from screaming even before our weekend started. Just fishing between us and watching the blow-ups and watching the jig get blasted and flying out of the water and have another one hop on it. I mean, you can't beat it. It's just a lot of fun. It's what we grew up with, and it just brings back tremendous memories. Yeah.
Incidentally, everybody, at 7:30 tonight, if Danny's show is over, you can catch it. If it's not, we're still going here, then you're going to have to wait a little bit. But Cody Rogers, captain of the Island Spirit, we shot a podcast with him on board the Island Spirit right after catching barracuda. He's caught bluefin up in the Channel Islands this year. He saw a swordfish in shallow water. They've seen orcas, and that'll all be tonight, 7:30. Captain Cody Rogers right here on the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel. That should be a great one, but we got way too much to do with Danny. And hello, McFly, who's a brand new guy and getting into fishing, says hello. He's a great guy. David Rosenthal. Hey, David knows more about this than I do. He says if you're on a mobile device watching right now, you might have to close the live chat for a moment, hit the like button, and then come back to the live chat. David, thank you so much. You're way ahead of me. Freddie, Holy Spirit Fire. How can you not smash the like button when Danny Kadota is giving lecture? Q-Ball says, yeah, but there's no fishing line left on the boat when they got back. Hello, McFly. Just picked up a CalStar 690 all glass blank. Tuna cord versus cork. What do you like? Tuna cord or cork?
We're implementing a whole different system. And I don't know if you've been around and but I mean, in tackle, I've always wanted to be like an innovator. I remember in the old days, all I did was cork tape my rods, keep it light, and we're clamping everything, But as we got older, and now we're implementing a graphite tube system that literally will structure the rods. And if that straight tube was a couple inches longer instead of a 30-pound stick, it's now a 40-pound stick. So when you could alter the action by the length of this handle, and it's light. I don't know if we're gonna have to see you guys at one of the shows, but the rods that we're putting together, I grew up and helped develop G. Loomis, and especially the saltwater series. And if you remember, they're extremely light. And we implemented at the time some of the titanium rollers, the AFCO made, and they worked great. It's just that they never caught on with a lot of the people. But I would get skippers, my peers that I worked with, they go, I don't like the rollers, blah blah blah. I go, really? So when you go long range, you don't implement a roller? Yeah, well, they do for that. I says, here's another one. Do you pull your anchor with a straight bar over the front, or do you have a roller on it? The roller is like a pulley. It acts like a pulley. So it helps alleviate that pressure and it brings sake, for the sake of ease, brings the fish in. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different things that you have to, have to think about when you're doing that. But when you put all your ducks and line all your ducks up together with a faster recovering material, which you're not going to beat graphite now, especially today's graphite, where they're stronger and lighter. These graphite tubes and things like that, just phenomenal. And I'm going to tell you, I fished on this last trip. I got to fish straight graphite rail rods that Lama Glass rode. And I think we're going to go that route too, because, after all, they were the first graphite company in this country up in Woodland, Washington. And, they had the guts to put together these graphite rail rods and implement our handle system, which had a graphite insert, but it had a nice outside foam that was very tough too. It didn't tear apart, but it was perfect for the rail. But when you pick these things up, they're about a third of the weight of all the rest of your
so
railroads,
light.
people. And that third of the weight helps put that fish on so much quicker. It's all about performance. Let me tell you something. If you had a Ferrari that was 3 times heavier, you're not going to get the speed or the performance out of it. Okay, so I'm just giving you an analogy. It's the same deal. And having the pleasure of working with a company that were the first people that innovated graphite way back, it's an absolute pleasure. And we're going to go that route because the company that I've been working with doesn't have the background for it, doesn't have the technology, and I think they're also playing a little politics with some of the guys. They're OEMs, so we're going to probably we're going a different route, and we're going to go with the guys that get it, And I like staying ahead. You can't lead from behind, folks. And as you get older, having something that's stronger, lighter, and quicker recoiling, you're gonna put a fish on quicker than somebody that's younger and has more strength. But it's all about the technical aspects, and especially when you complement it with, all the reels that you can that are lighter, 2-speeded, the whole deal has to do with, matching your tackle up correctly. But fishing with the technology that's available now, and I've been there from day one. I guarantee you I would have caught the largemouth bass, or I wouldn't have the performance that I did, or fly fishing or any aspect of fishing without fishing higher tech equipment. I couldn't go back to bamboo. Yeah, it's kind of neat, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't perform, folks. To me, that's what it's all about, especially as you get older, having something that's lighter. But, when it recoils faster and you're putting it on fish quicker than even the younger kids, it's not me, it's the tackle. So, keep that in mind. It's comfortable, it's higher performing. It may cost a little bit more, but it's the same as anything. You're not going to get the performance out of a cheap reel either. So when you complement everything together, you've got yourself an ultimate setup, ultimate piece. It fits like a glove.
All right, sounds good, Danny. Hit that like
Okay,
button,
man.
everybody. You're pounding that like button. Lots of people watching tonight. We thank y'all. Hope you all had a great 4th of July on America's birthday. I know Danny and I were celebrating the greatest country on the face of
You got
the
it.
earth.
You bet.
That's why our set's decorated still with all those USA flags that you see around Danny tonight. Dan Smith says, Danny, what's your opinion on Big Eye? I've always thought pound for pound they seem to be the most powerful, along with Yellowfin. But Big Eye, man, they are so strong. Agree? Disagree?
They were tough, but 90% of us were fishing with a single speed reel. If you had to match them, pound per pound with the tackle today, it would be a test. So I can't honestly tell you, because we were using 6/0. We were getting those big eye bites in El Nino in '83, and prior to that, we were still fishing single speed. The top reel, the best reel for being able to fly line a bait was a 6/0 that was newelled out. That's what I had, but you're talking about a drag that's that big. And compared to what we have now with all the different manufacturers and the 2 speeds, it's a different ballgame. So you have to really match apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Today's standards, it's a lot different. So I'd have to go hook a big eye and see what it would do compared to my, fishing with my new tackle now.
Well, something tells me you wouldn't mind doing that. As Tony Gonzalez looks in, I was going to say the manager of 22nd Street Landing, might as well be the manager. Tony, you want to come in and say something?
I just want the pay. I don't want the title.
I consider him that,
You have to talk to Mike Morrison about that.
That's all because you guys deal with me only.
Oh, that's all right. We want to talk to somebody we can talk to, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You guys on air?
We're on
Yeah,
there.
we're
I
live.
gotta go.
No.
You took off running. Hey, when you come down to 22nd Street, say hi to Tony. He is absolutely
Hi.
a wonderful guy. Him and Jim
Absolutely.
out front.
You
A
can't
lot of
beat 'em.
times They run the show out there, so people are watching right now, and it's great.
They're
stuff.
awesome. Yeah, they really are.
Fantastic. Israel de la Cruz says, good evening, Bill and Danny.
Good
And the Friedman
evening.
Adventures family. Israel, you're a big part of that family. We love you, man. Ahmed. Captain Danny reminds me so much of the legendary Captain Gary Norby, an encyclopedia of fishing knowledge. Danny,
Gary is a great
your
guy.
knowledge is so fantastic.
Well, Gary was such a great guy. We got to fish with his son. What is it, Scott? His son?
No, it's actually.
What was his son that was-
Ahmed.
No. Gary's son.
Oh, yeah, it is Scott.
Yeah, we did.
actually.
Yeah, we did.
right,
And I fished
right.
with him on a couple
Right.
memorial things and everything else. But yeah, Gary, I remember when he first bought the Outer Limits brought it in from Westport, and he docked right there at Portugal next to us. We were still over at Portugal back then, and we looked at him. We go, wow, and then the speed, and Gary definitely had his hands on that throttle because that thing could fly. It was unbelievable. But those glass boats, they changed everything. And especially you started looking at after that. You had the Kellys, you had the Fortune, you had the Pegasus, and those boats. It changed a lot as getting the fleet to go into some fast, very efficient boats too.
Yeah, for sure.
So-
Hello, McFly says, Mr. Friedman, or he said, your volume is low. And he saved the day because I just looked at my mic and I had my mic off.
Oh.
So thank you so very much. So I can repeat right now. Hit that like button, please. Share and subscribe to the channel, my friends. We're immediately following the Danny Kadota Show. It's going to be a good one. Cody Rogers, captain of the Island Spirit up there out of Ventura Harbor. Sword Fishing will be here talking barracuda, sea bass, and so much more. It's a great podcast. I know you're going to love it. And we had, Danny, customer service on that boat, it's beyond good. I mean, they go from person to person, not at the beginning of the trip, not at the end of the trip, throughout the entire day. It was. I was thinking of you. You admire that kind of thing. I know.
And like I said, I look at operations on boats, and I've been very spoiled. I mean, because I know Brian Kehar, who took it, and Ray, his partner, and Lori. I mean, from the time you're on the phone with them to the time you step on the boat, they're calling everybody. I mean, even newbies by their first name.
Yeah.
So you know what? It becomes, and hats off to you guys that do that. You become a family real fast.
They did that on the Island Spirit. It's
And
funny
see,
you mentioned that.
That's, you know what? Well, they set the bar.
Yeah.
The American anglers set the bar with that, and it becomes a family deal, and it's amazing how your demeanor changes. You don't worry. I mean, you get into tango, people relax because you don't have a guy panicking. You don't worried about losing his fish. Everybody's relaxed. We save them all. Imagine how that works.
Yeah.
But it's getting everybody together, becoming that family, and working together. That's half of it right there.
Yeah, yeah. Edward wants to know, what is your best color for fishing barracuda? He wants to know, do you like mint for that? And also, there are a lot of people who say color doesn't matter. What do you say? Oh, that's a good-looking jig.
Okay, that was the color of the Mustang, and I would take my beat-up tatties, and when it came time in the spring when we're painting, the crew and all of us would shoot them either white like this or solid, and we called it Mustang green at the time. And,
Yeah, right.
Old Teddy Shimizu would come down, and he would see the new colors, and he would bring us our 6-packs of new colored jigs and the whole deal. But that, yeah, definitely one of my favorites for barracuda. I use it for everything.
Yeah.
I
Do you
use
think
it for
color's that
yellowtail.
important, Danny?
I think a lot has to do with the way they swim, but I think it has to do with your own confidence.
Yeah.
To be honest, but oftentimes, all your people are focusing on the jig, watching it out there, and they're not watching what we're doing here. And doing that, giving that little extra kick, or changing it so it kicks different in the water.
I do a lot of
and
that.
So much of that.
Yeah.
If you watch a good jig fisherman, you don't have to watch the water. Watch his hands.
Yes.
Watch to see what he's doing here. It's not really. I mean, that's more a yo-yo type deal where you're grinding as fast as you can, but you'll watch and you'll twitch. And a lot of times you get bit on that twitch where it kicks out, So, like I said, watch their hands. You watch a successful jig fisherman, he's not catching them because he's lucky. And he's not necessarily catching them because of the color. Yeah, it can make a difference sometimes. But you watch the way he's casting, watch the way he's winding.
Perfect. That is good stuff. Dave Maestro says, howdy, y'all. Great show. David, it is so good to hear from you. P.S. Harnick, I got a 3-day in September on the American Angler. Can't wait.
Well, you should. You're on, to me, it's the best operation in the fleet. I mean, and of course I'm prejudiced because of Brian. I raised Brian, but their operation, they definitely have set the bar on almost everything, particularly with, calling you by your first name when you walk on the boat and all the way through the trip. I mean, they go the extra yard to make it comfortable for you and to bring that family, bring it right to you and you become part of it. That's huge.
Hello, McFly says, wow, that sounds really great. You can literally change the rod weight. I'll look into that alternative. That would be cool on my honey blank. Thanks, Captain. Those are your rods, Semper rods, right? That you're talking about with that.
Yeah, they're straight graphite.
Does he go on Instagram, or what should he do?
You know what? We're gonna probably be going. We're gonna be fishing. I'm changing manufacturers.
Yeah.
We're going to the original company.
Oh, yeah,
graphite.
yeah.
We're going to be switching over to Lama Glass because I was given a lot of mouth and no product.
Yes.
For 3 years, I wanted a graphite rail rod, and they sent me these heavy clubs that they utilize for another manufacturer down here. And I think a lot of it's political. They're probably protecting them to some extent. I'm not there. I'm in it to produce the best and have the best product for recoiling, for your cast, for the whole deal. It's all about performance to me, and it always has, with everything from my tackle to my boats, whatever it might be. But I've been big on that, and I'm going to go with a company that works. And it looks like Lama Glass is stepping up. And again,
beautiful.
They were the original creators of graphite fishing rods, carbon fiber tubes, and they've got the history. And I'm going to see if we can't get. And I've already seen what they're capable of. I use those graphite railroads. Unbelievable how quick they put on fish.
Great.
So
it might be a little while, but it's coming.
Yeah, the prototypes are out.
Beautiful.
And I'll help them with whatever they need to. I mean, yeah.
Beautiful. Tim P wants to know what a good hook size for white sea bass on squid is. Cue Ball says it's a 5.0 Aki twist. That's what he thinks. What do you think, Danny?
One of the best hooks I've ever used for sea bass, especially with the sliding head, and I don't know if you can find them, but it's cadmium. It's called a true turn. They're long shanks. They're probably about that long, and it's got a cam in it, so it's got a bend this way. They're heavy duty, but I fished a lot of the 7/0 and 8/0 for squid, and you can't really miss with those things for that particular utilization, especially with the croakers. They're hard to find, but you have to look it up. It's it's true turns. I have a lot of specialty things just for certain species.
Hey, that's what we want to hear. We want to learn this.
7/0 and 8/0 cadmium, the heavier saltwater hooks that they have. It might be a little hard to find, but you might go online with them.
All right,
but
perfect.
They give you a much better hook to bait ratio because you could stringer your squid on there several times and get a much bigger hook to bait ratio. And that, in the long run, is going to make a big difference. and then you put on your appropriate head, your weight or whatever. And you can use a bullet. You could use, I like heavier bullets if you can get them because it'll cut through, it's tapered. So if you get hung up on kelp or something, it'll help ride over it. But you can use an egg, a heavy egg too,
Perfect. PNS Harnack. Mr. Kadota, do you have a go-to tackle bag?
It's funny you say that. My bags that I have are antiquated. They're done in the years that we did stuff with G. Loomis. G. Loomis and Shimano did a lot of these, and a company called HYI did it. But they were the modular boxes where you could change out the shelves. They had a plastic frame and the canvas cover. And I noticed it's time for me to get a new box. So I'll be looking for a new box. I did look at SKBs. They are tough. I'm sure they're stronger than heck.
Yep.
I don't know, how it's going to accommodate my needs, particularly where I have tools and everything in there. I know that the box itself is 20-something pounds, so weight becomes a factor too.
Right.
The nice part about the modular ones, they're only as heavy as you load those plastic insert boxes.
Yes.
And they're universal. So when you have those boxes, you could have, like I have, I don't know, probably have 40 or 50 of those boxes loaded with different things. All I got to do is take out and change, whether I'm taking plastics for calicos or whatever it might be, or fishing different regions. I have them all set up for different areas.
That makes it really
So
convenient.
just exchange it out. So having that versatility, having that modular box, weighs out more than the strength factor on those SKBs. I like them, but they look great, but I know they're very heavy. By the time I load mine, you're going to need a crane to get it on the boat. So that's tough. It's tough. But we'll see. I'm still good point though, because I am looking for one.
All right, well, we'll go out and
Do some homework.
investigate. And
That will do a show in itself there, Phil.
Absolutely,
Could be.
Danny.
Yeah.
Slam and
awesome.
Sammy says, hello, Phil and Danny. Great show as always. I wanted you to touch on that Halco trolling lure that you mentioned on the past show. I actually have one. It's a 190H. Any idea which model they were using on your trip? I remember.
You know what?
You
I
weren't
don't
sure
know.
about
I
the
know
model,
they're about
but
this big, and I don't know.
what is that?
about-
Like a foot long or
No,
10
it was
inches?
less. It was probably 9 inches.
Okay.
I do know that it's the only one that I've seen that you can troll at a sport boat speed and be effective.
Yeah.
The Mad Max. There's no way we can get our boats up to that speed. So it's usually a yacht or a small boat that you can kick up to get up to that 15 knots or more to get and it burns. It's going to burn a lot more gas. I gather they're effective. But I got to tell you that Halco caught fish that were small, the 30s, 40s. We got stops on that, which in the past we never had stops on bluefin, folks. I'm sorry, especially at trolling speed. I think I got one. All those years of running the Mustang, I think I got one running out to 60 or running a big run to get outside. We had it going full bore, which, is 10, 11 knots, full bore with a feather. And that was one of the only bluefin I think we've ever had on troll. But I was so impressed by getting that cub, Ito, got that, I think it was 174 on that.
Nice.
And boy, let me tell you what, that speaks volumes because I've never seen that happen before. And I don't know if he had to retro the hooks or whatever it was, but it certainly held up great, now we say it will probably go out there. By the time I get to a store, there probably won't be any. But I mean, that's
You've
the way
wiped them out,
That's the
Danny.
way things go. Okay, but it works. I saw it, and I will testify to it.
That is great
Pretty awesome.
stuff. Awesome. Naughty Boy 78 says, how big of a setup would you take on a 5-day trip out of San Diego? What is too big? Nothing's too big right now.
There's no such animal now. I mean, I had the 100s, 130s, 200s. It's so tough because even during the day when you suspect that smaller fish were being caught, that say 30 to 80 pound fish or whatever, and when you get some of those good bait bites on those things, you still can hang a big fish. And that happened to me, and I got a picture of straightened out a 4X hook, 1/4 4X hook that I straightened out because you just have to tell yourself when you hook that fish and you go, I think this is the wrong fish. You know, you're in a bunch of like 70, 80-pound fish, or or maybe even a little bit less, and you hang a fish and it walks on you. You just better tell yourself, you know what? Put the screws to it, because you're either going to get them or break them off. And I end up straightening out the hook. But when it came down to it, probably didn't have a real chance at it. It was probably one of those bigger units, So, it's a mental deal. The last thing you do is you baby them. You'll lose them in the long run. It'll chew through, or it'll chew through the line, or it'll button. There's going to be too many things that happen. But if you could break its spirit, you have a chance.
And you
But
do
on
that
these
with heavy tackle, right?
You do that with heavier tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to baby anything.
He's asking for a 5-day trip. I would make the argument on a day and a half trip, you got to bring the heavy stuff.
You have
on a trip on the Freedom.
Exactly.
1 day.
Exactly.
Right?
You have to have it, folks. There's so many of those big units out there. You're not going to pick and choose, the schools. You go into them, if you hang a big fish on lighter tackle, you're going to be regretting it. So you always want to start off heavy and then go lighter, But you'll be able to, and generally a lot of the skippers, they will have, with their sonars and everything, they can tell you, it's probably going to be one of these units in this range, But if they tell you bring the heavy stuff, put out the heavy stuff, you want to put in, I would say 100 minimum,
Yeah, definitely.
If you have it, I mean, if you have 80 as your highest, use your 80. But now with this size of fish out there, I would drop 100, especially if you're fishing at night. I'd be fishing the 100 and 130s.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Don't forget to hit that like button, my friends. It is so good to see so many people here on the Danny Kadota Show. Share these videos, subscribe. Don't forget, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. It is so good to have with you. Don't forget also, following the Danny Kadota Show, Cody Rogers will be here on a really great podcast. You're going to love it. He's talking island spirit sport fishing out of Ventura Harbor and all the great stuff that's going on up there. Halibut Man, that is Mitchell. Mitchell, good to see you, my friend. He says, wait till you guys see how many slime sticks we caught on the Victory today out of Berth 55. I already know. I think they had 150 gar today, 150 barracuda on that. That's like the good old days, man,
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you have a
sticking out of the gunny sides
Yeah.
that much and stuff? Yeah.
Is there a correlation between good barracuda fishing and albacore? Here we go back to albacore again.
We did see him.
Didn't
in those
we?
years. Yeah, because like I said, we would, before we left Peter, we'd always be you'd go fuel the boat on Friday, and if you see Peterson and the whole fleet anchored out and fishing, fishing the barracuda, we'd go out there, and just the crew, we'd go down there for a few minutes just to get our jollies. And I mean, that's one of the best fish you can catch, and not have any bait. And we stayed away from them, so we didn't interfere them.
Yeah.
But I mean, just being able to throw the jig and get them on the air. We're probably making as much noise and as much yelling and screaming as the party boats were. Just our crew. Because we're crazy. That's what we do.
That's why we love you, man. All right, PNS Harnack. Is there a reason why it seems like there aren't many lingcod down south? Is it water temperature? Seems like some of the boats are having the best red fishing this year, but seems like no lingcod.
Yeah, lingcod. There's different areas that you're fishing lings. Typically they always were better up in the Channel Islands. To catch one down here is a little more rare. You'll catch them everywhere, occasionally, but it always seemed like the better ling fishing was further north.
Somebody told me that the American flag is blocking you, so we'll move it
heaven
over
forbid.
like that. Yeah.
Okay.
No, right? I mean, hey, we got to see Danny for sure.
That or the shark. I mean,
I mean, hey, I don't know what I'd do without all the people that are like helping me to design the set. I mean, here comes Hello McFly. He says that your volume is great now. And the reason my volume is great is because he told me I had a problem. So I thank you so very, very much.
That's right.
Really, really appreciate it, you guys. Let's see. All right, so we got the lingcod all taken care of. Steve Bermudez, only one microphone. Steve, we got that figured out, I think. Greg, oh, it's Greg Bates. He said, move the flag so we can see Danny. So we got that. Thank you, Greg. We deeply appreciate it. Wayne Beck is laughing. Cue Ball is giving applause to Wayne. I invited Wayne to the show tonight, Phil. Hey, thank you. I'm so happy you did
Awesome.
that. Joe Martinez, I started fishing with Brian on the City of Redondo. He is awesome. What great setup on the angler. So was Brian Kiohara over on the Redondo boats? I didn't know that.
He must.
He says
have
he
been
was
a
on the
kid
City of
because
Redondo.
He started working on our boat here at 22nd Street when he was 14. 14
Yeah.
and a half, yeah.
Yeah, he probably was
Yeah.
then. Joe Martinez says hello. Joe, I haven't seen you for a long time. Where are you, man? I miss you. It's good to see you here tonight, I'll tell you that. Omar says, is there a rod for a 100-pound setup that can do it all? Knife jigs, sinkers, maybe even trolling. What characteristic measurements would we look for? Asking for a friend.
No, there are. And there's a number of different manufacturers you can go to. And a lot depends on your style of fishing and how you fish, But I would stay with the name brands. I mean, I would walk in, and most of you can go to Sammy, and he can tell you.
Sam De La Torre,
Yeah.
Island Fishing
And-
Tackle
but we have
in Carson?
We have great tackle shops all over. I mean,
Yes.
there's, my mentor that I grew up on the Mustang Takas had that tackle shop, but you have your Save-On tackles, the long fins, Bob Sands up in the valley. I mean, I don't want to leave any out. Johnny's. I mean,
All those guys are pretty
they're
good,
all
right?
great.
Yeah.
Most of these guys, if they wouldn't be in business, folks. They're very honest with you. They're going to tell you what's what. Some of the things that I do might be outside of their realm because I like I like playing on the edge, especially with the straight graphites and everything. But that's why it was fun for me to blaze straight graphites with G Loomis back in the day, and it was and with it correlated all the new reels that corresponded. I got to fish all the prototype Trinidads and work directly with Toyo, Shimano, and Gozo and those guys back in the day. And, everything just complements just right. And accordingly now, because I'm fishing straight graphite and keeping everything light, I'm fishing, the machined out Accurates, which are the Valiants, which are very light. They're all two-speeded except for my 20-pound and 25. But everything else is two-speeded all the way up. So for an older guy, you have a whole system that's probably a third of the weight of everything out there that's on the market. And for me, it's the comfort level. I'm getting the performance. I'm getting the long casts because they free spool awesome. But I have the ability to push that button in and make me a young guy again. It just makes you like a hero because they come in a lot quicker. And then implementing and utilizing the boat, the rock of the boat. I mean, that just comes from being, from fishing. All these years, you've got to take every advantage out of your situation. So if the boat's moving, using the timing of the boat, and if you're doing that, the fish never get a chance to get their head down. So if their head's angled up, excuse me, and if they kick, they're kicking at you.
Excellent stuff. Danny, really enjoying tonight's show. I'm enjoying it more than everybody out there, I think. David Holland said, if you were on a 3-day trip and get to Tuna before noon on day one, can you keep fishing or stop until the next day? How's that work?
Get your limit.
You can get your limit. So fish to your limit, and then you're done. Yeah. All right, perfect. There you go, David. Joe Martinez. I'm going cranking and yanking on a 3-day island tackle charter leaving on Sunday. I believe that's on the Royal Star, Joe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but good luck to you and Sam and everybody on that trip. That should be good. Wayne Beck was on the Tribute on the 4th and broke down 6 hours in. What a shame. Should have come home today with some fish. Wayne, so sorry to hear that. It happens, man. Don't blame that on the guys or anything like that. You'll get another chance, and we know you're going to do just fine on your next one. David Liano's driving home from work, but the show is sounding great. Thank you, Phil and Danny. Daniel, thank you for listening. We deeply appreciate it. Daniel Lightfoot. They were just here. It's Michael Limon, the kid that was just here.
Oh,
He
they're
says,
on the way?
they said, good afternoon. They're headed home now.
Oh, man.
Albert Ponce, good evening, Phil and Danny, and all the fine Friedman Adventure family folks. I hope you guys had a great 4th of July. Albert, wish the best to you. Miss you, my friend. We got to get together one of these days really, really soon. Cue ball, God bless Two Speeds. These fish are savage. I got to cheat every chance I get. And that's what that two-speed gives you. It gives you an incredible
That's
advantage.
not cheating. You're using the technology that's available today. You know, if you think it's cheating and you're fishing a single speed, I'm sorry. I think that's dumb, because if you have the ability to have a two-speed, not you're going to be a lot more efficient. You could do it the old style if that's what you want to do, but to be able, I can guarantee you when you hit that button on a bigger fish, and it's doing that circle, you're going to help bring that fish, get that fish into on the deck a lot quicker, and it just helps your odds. The longer you're on that, the more odds of things going wrong. So, I take advantage of all the technical advances that you could possibly have. It's not cheating. It's out there.
Good stuff. Absolutely. Got to use it to your advantage. Hit that like button, everybody. Thanks for being here for the Danny Kadota Show. Big crowd tonight. It's really a great show. Share it with a friend. You can do it now, or if you come to the show and it's archived, you can share it at that point also. But we all, Danny and I, appreciate your great support. It is awesome. Steve Barber wants to know, what size tatty do you prefer, the 45 or the C? I'm going to just take a guess and say he's talking about barracuda fishing.
Barracuda, we actually had both.
Yeah.
We had both.
That's what I would,
Yeah.
I would answer that
Yeah.
exact same
Yeah.
way. Yeah, I mean, we were fishing the sea and it was working great. I watched other guys. I'm pretty sure Cody Rogers was fishing a 45, the captain of the boat, and getting bit right along with us.
And there's some years when you have small chove, the 9s even worked. They're a much smaller jig, much smaller profile. You'd have to drop down in line size. But the tatty 9s are small, but they worked, or the C's. You just have to, it's like anything. Whether you're fly fishing or tuna fishing, you got to match the hatch.
Yes, definitely. Omar has a question that I've often wondered about also, Danny. What is the reason behind the apparent inclination of seasoned anglers like you towards, he's talking freshwater bass fishing, surpassing all other forms of fishing? It would seem, even including those who specialize in saltwater fishing. Yeah, what is the draw to you guys? Because I don't have it.
It was challenging, and I grew up at a time where, again, we were very competitive, and I was with a group of guys like the Sanson brothers, Don and Danny.
Those were big-time San Diego captains.
Yeah. Ray Montero.
Yep, another one. Buzz Brizendine.
Dave Williams.
Yeah.
It was Taka.
Yep.
It was very, very competitive. And so I would say at times, Murph.
Yeah.
Murph, there's...
Are you talking about Dennis Lookenback? That
No,
Murphy? Or,
no.
oh, I know.
Robert.
Yeah, right.
But it was just very competitive. There was, I was going to say there's competition, but I got to tell you, the competition between the Sanson brothers themselves was unbelievable. Both tremendous fishermen.
Yeah.
Both of them, in both saltwater and fresh. But I mean, this is back 40-something years ago, more. They used to have, Phil, $100 per fish over 10 pounds, standing bet between the brothers.
Oh, wow.
You talk about competitive.
Yeah, no kidding. There's nothing like making a bet.
It was out of my range, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
and
right.
they were way too good at fishermen. But I mean, it was competitive, and I had the blessing of fishing with both those guys.
Yeah.
And Dave Williams, like I said, all these skippers. So it also helped gel and bring a lot of the northern and southern fleets together, because we had a common ground, off fishing. So, when it came to on the water, at one time it was a very northern versus southern boats deal.
Yes.
But that also helped break the ice. That's one of the things that was, helped bring the fleets together too.
Good stuff, yeah. Well, that's good. And it's challenging, huh? Is that what
Yeah, it was. I mean, and there's things that we understood. I'm gonna tell you something. I'll sit down sometimes on a Saturday morning and I'll turn on a bass show, and you see Billy Bob and the bass boats, and you see all the tournament guys. You see the big money involved in these bass
Yeah.
tournaments now.
Big
okay?
money.
So now they have a thing. It's called like a live scan. It's essentially like a scanning sonar, only they have it pointed. It's up on the bow where they could actually see the fish out in front. Okay. Okay. This is 2023, folks. Okay. George Mayo and I went down to San Diego, and I think it was 1981 with the first scanning color sonars, the Westmars. 81. So now you got, 19 years there and 23. So you got what, 42 years?
Yeah.
Okay. That we were already utilizing in our heads what we were seeing outside. So even with an up and down unit, with the X-15s and sort of the first Lowrances, coming off the ocean as saltwater captains, Taka, he was another one, he would just meter all day.
Yeah.
That's what an astute, guy he was as far as learning the structure. But then once you're anchored, double anchored, you find out there's a current. Well, let me tell you something. 90% of these guys that are tournament fishing have no idea which way the current's going. They can't, because you're not holding anything constant. They're moving around on a trolling motor. The wind's got them moving. If there is lake current, when you're moving around, how do you know which way the fish are facing? How do you stratify them? How do you approach this rock? Are you fishing this side, this side, this side, that side? Those guys are randomly casting. When I was targeting those big fish, we were fishing this rock with respect to which way the current's going. Somewhat the same way we would set up if we're at Clemente or Catalina or Cortez Bank.
Right.
If you're sitting on the wrong side of the current, man, you are out in left field.
Yeah.
You're out in no man's land.
Right.
So having that background, all the 40-something years of implementing and utilizing sonars, visualizing what we saw at the lakes that a lot of guys didn't because they were still in a two-dimensional mode, was a great advantage,
Huge.
But it came, amongst, the top grade of skippers, captains, and stuff that were implementing, that technology into the bass fishing. And that's why they were also very successful too,
Excellent stuff. No question about it. Hit that like button. Cody Rogers immediately following tonight's show at Danny, the captain of the Island Spirit at Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing. That should be great. Q-Ball says he was the guy that took Wayne on the trip that broke down. He said that the Tribute is really a great boat. They comped everybody, took really good care of them, made it right. Tribute is as legit as it gets. That's nice to hear, Danny, right?
That was the old Holiday. It was about that back when I was running boats. Ray Montero was running. He was one of the guys I worked with, and they had they had a scanning sonar. It was a black and white unit on the Holiday, so he was one of the very few guys that had a scanning sonar. So when we worked together, there's only a couple of us that had scanning sonars, and that helped break down the northern-southern deal. We started working together with a lot of the guys that we could work together with, and Ray was one of them. And he was a bass guy, too. Freshwater bass guy, too.
All right, PNS Harnick says, my wife wants to know if there's any special meaning behind the sharks on the table. He wants to know if Danny caught them barehanded or something. Well, I guess I'll have to answer that because I'm the one who found those things. So there's a couple twins that work down at Rosarita Beach, a couple girls, and I go into their store all the time because they have all kinds of stuff. And I always say, first thing I say is, you got anything around here for my wife? And, they know what she likes and blah, blah, blah. And then I'll say, you got any fishing stuff? And this one day they said, hey, we just got these shark heads. I know you're going to love them. So they show me one and I go, oh, I do love them. How much are those things? And they're like $10 each or something like that. And I go, how many do you have? They had two. So, of course, I grabbed both of them. So those come from Rosarita Beach, Mexico. I guess if there's any significance. Yeah. If there's any significance to them, it's that I love Mexico. I know you do too, Danny.
Yeah,
love
absolutely.
fishing down there.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. So That's it. No, Danny, you didn't catch those barehanded, did you, Danny?
No, they're actually they're pretty nasty when they're at that stage.
Yeah, I
So-
know. Well, look at them, man. I mean, they look
Oh.
nasty, don't they?
Well, with bonita shark, they're also very good eating. So I have a funny story. This is a true story too. In my album, and one day Phil we'll go through all the albums, but there's a sequence where I used to have a little single shot 410. It's called the snake charmer, stainless. And when we had sharks like that, I would pop them because they're very dangerous. You put them on the deck, and they will chase people.
Wow.
They'll start doing this,
Is that right?
Chasing you up the road.
That's
Oh yeah.
funny.
So we gaffed it. I popped it, and then I'm cutting off the head because it's dangerous. And,
Right.
And you save the meat because the bonita shark's edible. Meanwhile, this whole sequence is being filmed. So I have it in my album at home. So my daughter, for some reason, my youngest one, I don't think it was Elise, I think it was Alexa, took it to school as a show and tell. What does your dad do for a living? My dad shoots sharks and cuts the head off them. So I'm making me look like some kind of a mass murderer.
Yeah,
And
right.
I'm going, oh, great. That's what their classes learn,
That's what
My
you
daughter
do.
goes in telling them, that's what I do for a
That's
living.
funny. That's hilarious, man.
Unbelievable.
Did you have to go talk your way out of that?
No. Fortunately, it was like kindergarten or something like that. It was pretty young, yeah.
I had
Unbelievable.
the first grade teacher asked my son Patrick one time. They were going through how animals had helped in the development of mankind. She asked Patrick, "What are horses for?" And he responded, "For betting on." So he went to it with his dad to Santa Anita a few too many
wow.
times, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right, Blue Sky says, Danny, I heard you talking about tackle boxes earlier. Are the Fish Lab rolling tackle boxes with handle any good? And what size do you recommend for a 3-day trip? I don't know that brand or anything. Do
I
you?
don't either, but I'm gonna go take a look.
Yeah.
And
There you go, Blue
and really,
Skies.
The best thing to do, as long as I've been in the business, but I've been out of this part of it. We used to do tackle bags at Loomis and Shimano, right? The best thing to do is go talk to your tackle shops, all your local tackle shops. They will tell you all the pluses and minuses on them, and they could dial you in on your budget for them or whatever it might be. Give you the pluses and minuses on the mobility and being able to be modular. Like I said, having to be able to interchange common boxes in these different tackle boxes gives you the ability to have boxes set up with your calico stuff, boxes set up for albacore, boxes set up for bluefin, and it's all so different that all you have to do is interchange the plastic boxes. You can keep them stacked.
I love that.
Or organized, and then when it comes time to actually using them, you can pull what you need and put it within that framework.
All right, Dan Lightfoot and Michael Limon, they were just here. They just left. They said, show your love and support for Captain Eddie Leland. So I can give an update. Eddie is really struggling right now. It's very difficult. Prostate cancer, as you well know. He is very courageous. His family is a loving, wonderful family. In fact, his wife Sue asked me if I could come over today. I was in Ventura, and she had to run out, and I said, "Yeah, I can't. I'll come back a little bit earlier." So in the meantime, her brother was going to take care of that. So yeah, thoughts and prayers are with Eddie, right, Danny?
Yeah, and Eddie, keep fighting, Eddie. We need you.
Yeah.
We need you. Stick around, man.
Man, he's just like you in that his love of fishing is just
He's such an
so
awesome guy.
strong. He
Yeah.
loves that sport, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. So God bless you, Dan and Michael, for reminding us all to do that. Greg Bates, Bob Sands has the Valley Plus Johnny's, got in the San Gabriel Valley, plus Sam's got the LA area. Plus, each is at the top of their game. If he says plus one more time, I'm going to kill him. Wherever you live, you have a top resource. Danny knows as I do. So he's talking about great
I
tackle
know.
stores.
You know what? It's great. Once you have a relationship with your tackle shop guys, it really almost doesn't matter. If you have their trust and if you trust them, that's all that counts. They'll go to bat for you. They will give you what they feel is the very best. being in the business and being a tackle rep for many years, repping a lot of these different tackle manufacturers, I had the pleasure of dealing with a lot of guys, almost all of them. And, most of them are absolutely salt of the earth. Every now and then you run across something that might be a little
Yeah.
more difficult. But
In every
and that's
profession.
true with anything,
Yeah.
But for the most part, we're pretty blessed that these guys are all doing something that we love doing and they love doing, and because of that, they're going to give you their best, their honest opinion on everything. So, you'll know right away, by your track record with them, and you'll know that whatever they recommended worked out for you. And so I would trust in your relationship with those individuals.
Good
Not so
stuff.
much me telling you who's who and what's what.
Yeah, exactly. That's great advice. Tuna Kid says, "Hey, Danny and Phil. Oh, I like this idea. We need to get, I don't know if you will, though, because you're pretty progressive, Danny, but this does sound like fun to me. We need to get a trip together that uses old school 80s gear with straight mono, single speed reels, and old school jigs. What do you think the outcome would be?" Probably not that good on those big bluefin.
The outcome would be I would buy stock in Ben Gay and some of those other limited companies for us old guys. Because let me tell you what,
You're going to get your clog cleaned?
when we were younger and strong and actively involved in fishing with the big eyes with the single speed 6/0, 80-pound glass rods, 655 heavies and things like that, we were in great shape and we got our behinds kicked badly.
Yeah.
So no, I'm staying with the technology, folks.
You're passing on that, huh?
Yeah, the stretchy mono, I'm staying with the fact that my seed, one of my seed daddies, Russ Iser, developed Spectra, and it really has changed our game, and it allows us line capacity, the ability to fish a reel that's smaller than the old 6/0, but more powerful. So no, I'm going to stay with the technology, guys. I'm sorry.
All right, there you have it. Hello, McFly, who's a great addition to the Friedman family. Straighten out my microphone tonight. Ask great question. And he is praying for Eddie. We deeply
Awesome.
appreciate that. Cue Ball says prayers going out. God
Absolutely.
bless. Cue Ball, really, really appreciate it. And so does Eddie's family. It means so much to Eddie and to his family, Danny, to know that there are other people who are actively praying and sending their
That's what
thoughts
it takes,
out.
folks.
It really does. All right, cue ball. When I fish Makos, the chum silk tells me which way the current is going. That's true, right? Yeah, you can see
sure.
that. The slick from the current.
Yep.
Cue ball, or anytime I've got a chum block in the water. Yeah, that'll tell you how the current's running. Any other ways to determine current, Danny? Do you have to anchor and then figure it out?
I
Pretty
mean,
much?
that's pretty much the deal. I mean, obviously, if you're at the island, you can see which
See the
way
kelp.
the kelp's laying out.
Yeah. But if you're on Tanner Bank or something,
When you're off in the beyond, you have to hold a constant.
Yeah.
Usually have a constant, but you usually can tell by the conditions there.
yes. All right. Ahmed wants to know, Danny, do you believe in code groups amongst boats? It does exist, Ahmed. He's asking
Oh,
if it
yeah,
exists.
no, it exists.
It
It
exists
absolutely
big
exists
time, and it
because-
has for a long time.
And you know what it has to do? I mean, it goes back to working with guys that will share information. I mean, we're going to work with a guy that's going to call you after he's got 100 fish on the boat. Say, hey, they're biting. Oh, yeah? How'd you do? You got 100 fish on the boat. How about calling when you first get bit and it looks good, you're bendo, and you're just going into the stop rather than calling and saying, hey, we put 100 on. Hey, we're over here. Well, guess what? By the time you get there, it probably has nothing but scales and blood in the water, and so that's not going to help you much. So it's better to work with guys that you can reciprocate information with, and you're going to get in where you have a shot to get there in time if you're in a different area.
So your code group were guys that you trusted, and you probably didn't put anybody in the group who didn't have really great expertise, knew what they were doing. You wanted to work with the best. I'm guessing.
Oh, absolutely. And one time it was a northern boat versus a southern boat deal, Phil.
Yeah.
It really was. But what broke that down was the fact that I think it was 81 when George Miller and I went down there. We didn't tell anybody we had them, but we had the only scanning sonars other than Ray Monterio. Stinger had a black and white unit on the Holiday, but we went down with the first scanning colors, right, the Westmars. And we were blessed in that between George and I, we had probably some of the top fishing groups in LA and in Southern California.
Yeah.
So we were blessed by that. But we can go with the same stop as a lot of the other boats. And instead of landing 50%, our guys were probably 75 to 80.
That's great.
Or better.
Yeah.
Yeah, we carried Yo's. George carried Arts. I had Mickey's group, which was the East LA guys. But we had the Sharpies from all over.
Yeah.
And they made us look good. So I always felt that, we owed them that, having not only the best electronics, but we also had the best crew. I mean, my boat, every kid on the boat had a captain's license. So you know what that made me? When I went to the head, that made me the toilet scrubber. So, there was no hierarchy.
Right.
We were all captains, and that's the way it worked. And we worked as a team. And I think that also helped, too,
All right, good stuff. Daphne7 says he loves my joke about, it wasn't a joke, but Patrick betting on horses. Yeah, that was too funny. In a Catholic school, I didn't go to the head of the class in that comment for sure. Rick Slater, the Mako heads would still bite after being cut off.
That is
darn
true.
right. You
That
darn
is
right.
true.
Yeah.
That's why we used to put a can in their mouth a lot of times.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure. Do you remember? I'm sure you did this. You'd pull that Mako shark up so far, and it'd sink its teeth into the rail, and then you'd saw its head off. You got the gaff down in the body of the shark,
Yeah.
down below the head a
Yeah.
little ways.
Yeah.
Saw its head off, and then bye-bye, and
Yeah.
you got the body. You don't have to worry about anybody getting hurt at that point.
Well, they didn't get hurt on our boats too, because I would tap them with a 410.
Oh, there you go.
Well, because like I said,
Little love tap, huh?
They would chase you. If you put them on the deck, they would.
Man, that's
swim
crazy.
on that aluminum oxide going up the.
Yeah, for sure. Cue Ball says, yes, Rick, absolutely. Daniel Llanos is sending out prayers for Eddie. Daniel, God bless you. Thank you so much for doing that. Gregory Wilson, still using my Mark Pack Hippo. Bought it back in '99. Has 4 3,700 boxes. Change them out to match the type of trip I'm going on. That's what you're talking about, Danny.
Yeah.
Having those
you
boxes.
Have modular and you keep the same size box. All you have to do is pull, depending on the species and whatever you're using. Like, for instance, you're not going to take a box full of albacore feathers if you're not albacore fishing, right? So that stays at home.
Right.
So, you're going to pull what you utilize and what you forecast you're going to be doing on your trip. So do your homework before you go.
Right.
That's a big thing.
Exactly. Are you doing okay on coffee and everything over there with your throat?
Yeah, I probably can do a little bit more.
Do you want me to get it, or you want me to?
Yeah, if you could do that,
Sure,
that'd be
of course.
great. That'd be great.
Let me throw you a question, and
Yeah,
then while
just-
you're doing that, Dan Smith says he's taking care of Eddie with his thoughts and prayers, and that doesn't surprise me about Dan. Only good prayers and thoughts going your way, and I'll let Eddie know about this. Everybody, I'm going to go by there tomorrow, so I will definitely let him know about all the support. Since Phil mentioned horse betting, here I go. I'm getting in trouble. Mr. Kadota, did you name your boat the Mustang? Was there a reason why you called it the Mustang?
We just kept the name of the boat. It originally, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? I know Bob Groman had it before Taka. The original guy, oh God, he played football, but it was
The guy
the name
played
of-
football?
It was the name of a football team, right? The Mustangs, and I think it was.
The Mustangs, a football team. It wasn't a pro team, was it?
51. Well, a semi-pro, I think.
Yeah.
But that was the reason. It was the first Drake craft come on board. First Drake craft built up in Oxnard, and it had 3 laminated, pieces of plywood. So it's beefy. It sits a lot heavier than the other Drake craft, but we just kept the name. But it was named because he did play football with a team called the Mustangs, and we stayed with it, and it's always been.
All right, perfect. Hello,
Yeah.
McFly. Haha, I remember my pen, long, each, and saber. So, saber rods for sure. Chet Finley, what knot for 80 or 100 braid to fluoro, 80 or 100 or 200 for a jig leader. What knot?
I've been using the RP nut, you know, or John Collins. There's a couple of them that I use, you know, but they're all, I've never had failure with them. So look those up, you know, and also talk to your local tackle guys. Oh, thank you, Phil.
You're welcome.
Talk to your local tackle guys. That's always the best way to go to, you know. They'll do a lot of those connections for you. But you know, when I'm on the boat, those are what I implement. I've never lost any, never had any of those come apart though.
You're still fighting your cold a little bit, right?
Especially when I'm talking, like, you know, hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. We're almost out
I
of
was
that.
like that on the boat. You know.
I know.
It's been. I think I've had this
For a month.
at least.
Yeah.
At least, and you've had.
Well,
similar
I got
time, too.
well until my brother comes back from Taiwan. And I spent a day with him
You see,
yesterday.
that's what brothers are for.
He's sniffling the whole time, and he goes, "I got this cold," and I'm like, "I'm so screwed." And then this
It's
morning,
odd. Yeah.
my throat, and I'm like, "Is this just nothing, or is this that I got his and I got it now?"
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I want to kill him. All right, Dan Smith says, Captain Danny, is it possible or worth it to build 100% graphite for trolling rods for big fish like marlin and such? What are your thoughts?
Well, that's what I'm doing. We're doing less, and you know, they're really the first ones to do this. They're doing 100%, and well, they should be. They were the pioneers in graphite for day one. And the sticks that I played with, we got more coming, but I was fishing the 100 and 80 and 60, a 40, and they were all phenomenal. You know, and you know, they can do for trolling rods. You'd have to do a little different. You know, that's not my forte. For me, it's, you know, it's how we're fishing them for bait in these stops. It's going to be more for long range fishing, you know, for that utilization. It can be done, but it's, you know, here's the thing. You're in a trolling mode, and it's pinned into the rod holder or maybe a chair. Okay, just the angle that you're keeping, you know, you're up higher. For me, and for you know, a guy that fishes a stand-up and walk around, and when you're walking around a boat, my idea is to keep the angles down low, and you'll see pictures all the time. You know, I think we had a short clip on one of the things you
we
sent
did.
you too, and the rod's down here. You're going to get maximum pressure down here, folks. I keep interjecting that to all you guys. The higher you go, I watch people do these ice sticks. You're getting 1/10 of the pressure up here, folks, than you are down here. So why would you do that? You know, if you keep it down here and the boat goes up, and you're using the boat rock, using 60 tons or 100 tons, depending on the size of the boat, to lift your fish, and you're just winding down, keeping up with it. If their head's planing up like this, and every time they kick, they're kicking up, and you're keeping up with that, they're going to kick themselves to the boat. You're doing this thing like this. When you got 1/10 of pressure up here, that fish is very easy for that fish to get their head down, folks. They get their head down, they kick, you're getting line taken out of you. You know, do you want to fight it all day? If you want to fight it all day, yeah, keep doing that. But I mean, there's a reason why we keep the rod down low, is because you're putting a tremendous more amount of pressure on it at all times than at that lower level, from 90 degrees on down.
All right, good stuff.
Yeah.
Cue Ball says, I still got my Newell's 338 with the Tiburon frame, but that's a single speed. I get it. But back in the day, we didn't have fluoro or 2 speeds, Jig Masters or Squidder, laughing out loud. So, yeah, right, back in the day.
But if you want to be a retro guy, you can be a retro guy. But, you know, instead of getting 3 fish on the boat, you may get 1. You know, so keeping up with the technology has a lot to do with it, folks. If you learn how to fish with the higher tech rods and reels, you're going to do a lot more damage. I mean, you know, you probably are fishing Spectra, and you use a shorter top shot of mono with fluorocarbon. You're going to keep up with that. You want to keep your tackle elevated to the best performance you could have. There's a lot of guys that will fish retro. And that's fine if that's what you like to do. I like putting on fish, and I want to take advantage and use whatever strength I have, especially as I'm getting older. I want to be able to use the boat to help kill that if I can, and just keeping up with my winds and, and keeping up with state-of-the-art tackle. That's another thing I've always been big on from the time I was a little kid.
Omar says this question is for both of you fine gents. Along your long fishing journeys, what are the top 3 notable transformations that you witnessed within the fishing and sport industry throughout the years? I'll start with one, Danny.
Go ahead.
It's the attention to customer service that many of the boats. I grew up being a deckhand at a time where customer service wasn't at the top of the list. We had lots of people fishing in those days. We had 70 people coming on the boat. Winning the deadhead winning the jackpot for the crew was way more important than customer service. And then I juxtapose that with my experience yesterday on the Islands Spirit, where they couldn't have been any nicer. They couldn't have been any better. Way better than anything I've ever seen on a 3/4 day boat. So that's one I would mention.
That's a big one. I
Yeah.
mean, that comes to the point where they used to call them stern hogs.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there are guys that would not let you in,
Right.
even if you had a fish. And I would hook a fish up the rail, and I'm coming down. I'd say, "Excuse me." I'd be very polite at first.
Coming through, excuse me.
Excuse me. And some of the guys would sit there like this.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't budge. I said, "Excuse me, can I come through?" "No, this is my spot." Well, then the football comes out of me.
Yeah,
I
right.
lower my shoulder, and I would just plow it up and then go inside of them and follow my fish around the corner. But, it was combat fishing for many years when we were younger before a lot of that evolved.
For sure.
And then working on a charter boat, it was completely different because it was more about the customer service. And we didn't allow that behavior, We said, "Listen, we can land all the fish. You just have to cooperate together,
Yeah.
And there used to be there are guys that if they come into a tangle and one guy's backing off on his drag, sawing the other guy off. And I would get infuriated by that because there's no need for that. When
Yeah.
you work together, you can land them all,
One of the notable transformations that maybe you would mention, Danny, I'm just guessing, is how much better the gear is nowadays.
The gear too, yes, absolutely. But that it is the mentality. It is, you know what? If it's between me and a passenger on the boat, especially like when I'm the angler, if you want to sacrifice my fish, I've caught them before.
Yeah.
Land his, But the fact of the matter is, when you work together, you can land them all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the bottom line. Just don't panic. Listen to the crew. Those guys are on top of it. And that's the other thing. As I get older, my eyesight is not the same. These kids have that acuity. You can tell which way it goes from day one. Whether you were over and under.
Oh, I know.
Looking at the angle that you're coming into this tangle, So trust the crew.
Yes.
The crews they're on top of their game nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
Andy Favela says, "Hey, Phil and Danny, I have a 3/4 day trip on the Beautiful. It is beautiful. Native sun just rolled up here a second ago, Andy. Next weekend, any tackle, lure suggestions? I'd go, you got to have a jig stick, right? And then
Yep.
you mentioned Tatty 45 Tatty C's. This local Barracuda looks like
Barracuda
it's for
gonna do
real
it.
right now.
Have
so.
your sand bass rig maybe.
Yeah, like
Have
so
one ready.
maybe a 15 or a 20
Yeah.
and then a 40-pound jig stick.
Yep.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
That'll
then-
get you covered half day.
Yeah, I think you'd be good there, Andy. And just keep your ear to the morning briefing. I'll be on there tomorrow morning pretty early. And if anything's changing or anything, I'll let you know and give you a tackle suggestion also. Joe Surwald. Hey, Danny and Phil checking in late. Always enjoy Danny's knowledge and history of sport fishing industry in Southern California waters. Starting to catch some quality and quantity bluefin tuna up here at the gate. Yeah, did you know they're getting them in San
I've seen some
Francisco
of those
now?
pictures up there. Phenomenal, guys. Yeah, take advantage of that.
That's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to love going up there, but when we would go at the end of the season, it was generally albacore that we'd, as we went up to Monterey, up into the Bay Area, and we quit, I think, at Point Arena, so we couldn't go further north than there because our insurance wouldn't cover us. But yeah, fishing all through there from Avila all the way up was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's
but we
funny.
were a lot younger.
It's funny you say that, Danny, because the guys on the Pacific Angler out of San Francisco said, "Hey, I know you love albacore. Water's starting to warm up. We're going to be catching them. You got an invitation to come up here and catch one." So we're still thinking it's going to happen down here, but who knows, right, Danny? You never know.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. But yeah, bluefin up there in that neck of the woods. And then also, if you join Cody Rogers after Danny's show tonight, he'll be on the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel right here. And he runs the Island Sword. He'll talk about one heck of a bluefin tuna show that they recently had. And they got a couple of fish. All right, ST. Hello, Phil and Danny. Thank you for doing this every week. Danny, where can I get one of your Semper rods for bluefin tuna fishing? What sizes do you have available? I'm close to Johnny's tackle.
I do have some blanks. One of the key ones was actually a lighter line, a 30-pound stick that I implemented all day on the Freedom last year in our fall trip. But I also utilized it on this last trip. And I've had fish up to about 100 pounds with that, which you're typically not targeting a fish that big. But I consider it a 30-pound rod. It's just a good all-around rod. But I am implementing it, like I said, at the rail and fishing down light. I do have a graphite handle. So the whole outfit, I think it was like 12 ounces with the reel seat, everything. It's unbelievable. We are going to be, and we do have those blanks available. Bobby can put it together for you, and we'll talk to Brad Kono and see if he can get the hardware for it, the graphite handle, so you get set up so it's powerful and light. You can make those adjustments on the foregrip. Take that 30-pound rod. If you extend it up, 3 inches, you make it a 40-pound rod. So the structure of the rod by the handle grip is probably the most innovative thing that the industry's seen. Guys haven't figured that out yet, but I've dealt with that over the years and dealing with state-of-the-art tackle. I mean, even with G. Loomis, the guys didn't quite get straight graphite, and it took a little while for them to catch on. But
so if he wants to order one, should he contact you?
You
or
can contact us, yes, and we can get the blank to Bobby, if you're up at Johnny's, and he can build it for you.
Oh,
And
great.
We'll
Perfect.
talk Brad into getting you the handle kits for it, too.
How does he contact you?
Presently, you can call us on Semperfish, on semperfish.com. You can compliment us, or you can, just
Instagram?
call line Instagram.
Yeah, Semperfish.
And we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you, and we'll get, I can get that rod up to Bobby, and he can build it for you. And we'll correlate it with Brad in getting you the graphite handle hardware, because that's an instrumental part in building that rod to perform the way it does, where it's lighter and stronger. It'll almost take you back to, if you guys remember the G. Loomis, the straight graphite series that I designed, help put into play with Gary Loomis, made a huge difference. They're not for everybody. If you high stick, if you fish like that, if you don't understand the concepts of lifting at the lower angles and understand the rod angles and the correlation between the pressure that you're putting at them at those angles, if you don't get that, probably stay with a composite or a glass rod. But if you do, you'd be amazed how much faster the fish come on, how much further your cast is. It really is a win-win deal if you grasp it and get it. It's and that's still the way of the future. It just has to be put in the right hands.
Rick Slater, the sea lions are driving him absolutely crazy. They're out of control. He says, is there a legal deterrent for sea lions, Danny?
Legal?
Yeah.
I don't know, yelling at them, saying, hey, get out of here. But no, I mean, we used to, they used to have this, we called them sill bombs. You light it, and there's throw it in the water, boom, and it.
Look who's here.
Petey.
Pete Demers.
Still on?
Yeah, you want to be on with
Come
him?
on in,
or-
sit down, Pete.
Hop in there. Pete Demers
my
from the
old
Los
fishing partners
Angeles
for years
Kings.
and years. Yes, sir.
You're going to have to speak up into Danny's mic there, Pete. Or I can
Oh,
just turn
yeah,
it over to
yeah,
you two
yeah.
guys.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, you sure?
No, I'll hang my head over here.
No, this guy's a legend to me. Pete Demers, the LA Kings trainer for 25 years.
No, 34 years.
Oh my God. Wow. That's incredible, man. And it's funny because you mentioned some players back in the day, and I still remember their numbers, some of those guys. Dave Hutchison, number 4.
Yeah, tough guy.
Oh my God, was he ever?
Yeah.
I remember like the first game he played, and there was all this like talk going on about, hey, this guy's like a fighter, and I'm pretty sure he dropped the gloves first game with somebody.
Probably did, yeah. I was there.
Yeah, that's
You,
great.
you know what? It was really interesting too. I met it was Toyo Shimano. He says, "Hey, you want to go to a morning skate?" And I wasn't into hockey at the time, you know. I mean, of course, I lived close by the Forum too, but
Yeah.
you know, I said, sure. So we go over there, introduced me to Pete, and he says, "Hey, Danny, we have access to fishing boats, you know, with the H&M landing and, you know, having the boats and everything." And I don't think it was a week later, Pete goes, "Let's go fishing." And then in time, what was great was I was able to, you know, especially, you know, with Toyo and Kozo, those guys, we were able to outfit them with all the best gear, state-of-the-art gear, and he went out and became a huge fish killer overnight.
That's
It was unbelievable.
fantastic.
Well, he has that. I mean, he has that from his background in fishing, but with everything he does.
Well, competitive
As a trainer,
the Kings,
oh,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
But
Danny
Pete had
helped
it.
me so much. You know, I'm just used to, like we were talking about before, just take a little treble hook and throw it on there and go hunk of bait and catch a striped bass on 40-pound line and we didn't even use fluorocarbon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to mention this. Even Pete probably wouldn't want me to mention it. The reason why he is here this evening is he's delivering some clothing for the people in Mexico for our clothing drive. I don't know if is this from Gary Vitti, by the way?
Some of it's from Gary Vitti, some of it's from my girlfriend Blair, some
Yeah.
of it's from my closets, and
This guy, ladies and gentlemen, and Danny for that matter, I mean, you're working down in the soup kitchens. You're helping homeless. You are such a great person, Pete. I admire all that you do for people. You don't do it to get any accolades. You probably want to kill me for bringing it up, but you're the kind of person I grew up. My parents said you're going to Costa Rica when I was 18 and working the missions with Father Ignatius, whether you like it or not, and it changed my life. It was a great experience. I went back, did the same thing in Mexico. You continue to do it. Thanks for being here tonight, and I know Danny's happy to see you
Oh,
too.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course, we got stories. You know, I mean, we had a great time through all that, you know, and it was a blast from that, like I say, from that very first day, you know, and it never ended. I mean, we kept going. We go down, and you know, he loves to fish as much as I, and his enthusiasm, but his ability to grasp it and take you know, really, I would say take the ball and run if you're playing football, but I mean, I would take the puck and not, you know, put it in the corner of the net. You know, I mean, that was Pete with fishing,
Yeah, right.
and you know, and he's never stopped. He keeps, and that, you know, he went from that to long range, and he's a certified fish killer. Definitely the kingfisher of all time. There's no doubt about it.
Is that your favorite hobby by far, Pete?
oh yeah,
Yeah. You've had great experiences with your daughter in Baja.
yeah.
So much, right?
10 years we went down there in my Jeep after she went to San Diego State when she got out. Every year I go pick her up and we take off at 10 o'clock at night and pull over on the side of the road at 2 a.m. and have a little nap and keep going. And every night we find a place to camp on the beach somewhere behind some rocks. And we were talking about doing that again, but you know, it's kind of scary now, I think.
Nah, I go all the time. It's the same old chatter that I heard 55 years ago. You're gonna get your head cut off. You're gonna blah 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 blah. And I still have my head on. I think, right? Does it look like it's still on there?
They're wonderful.
All right.
Not working that well, but
I'm gonna break him with that because I got a place to take him
oh, Bay of LA.
that you told me he put together, and Pete
been
and
there.
I went down. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna love these
I've
trips.
been there myself with Amy.
Yeah, no, wait till you see the stuff that, you know, Steve, he's not going to settle for any
Right.
regular old trip, but we got some innovative things going on that you're going to love. You're going to love that. We're
Let's
gonna have
go,
to-
Pete.
we're
Come
gonna do that
on.
And
for
the
sure.
dogs, all it takes is one dog to start barking
Yeah.
in Bay of LA, and then every dog in the whole village is barking.
I hear you. I hear you.
I
Yeah.
guess there's some big yellowtail down around there.
But but I mean, there's some stuff that, you know, and I'll tell you, when you go fish like Paqueta, number one, that's probably my favorite fish to eat of all time. And Steve's telling me they're fishing 100-pound with this, so you would get off on this. They get a fish 40 feet off the bottom, and they put their heads down, and then they get rocked at 600 feet. I'm going,
Wow.
that is a challenging fish.
Yes.
That happened
And that's
to me
what I'm
when Kozo and Toyo were kind enough to outfit me with everything, and Danny put all my sets together and outfits together, what I needed and everything else, and had a Trinidad 20, and we went to Chester Rocks on the Angler.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great
Yeah.
yellowtail
I
spot.
didn't know
Oh,
that
yeah.
I had to have my drag cinched up so I could hardly pull it off, and I got spooled right away on a big yellowtail.
Chester, yeah, that's where I got my biggest.
I love Chester
Yeah,
Rocks.
Chester,
yeah.
yeah.
Those yellows get up,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
They look like
Yeah.
sharks almost.
Yeah.
They're just, yeah.
But you know, with Pete, I mean, his level of expertise, just like anything else he does, he kept stepping it up, stepping
Sure.
and then became a premier long range guy.
Yes.
You know, but I mean that's Pete. You know.
Well,
Hey.
there's so many veterans on those long-range boats
yes.
that you can learn so much. You just kind of sit back, and especially when you go on a long trip, you know, you got a couple of days running, or sometimes 3 or 4 days running, and they're working on their gear constantly. You just kind of sit back and watch, and you learn so much.
You know, that's the key to life, isn't it? It really is.
You
No
gotta
matter
keep
how
your eyes
old you
open.
are,
Yeah.
right? I've never been a guy that goes to the gym very much, but I hit 65, got Medicare, and got a free gym thing. And I do exactly that at the gym because I'm not a big weightlifter, so I don't know how to. And so I watch these guys, and I'll even walk up and say, hey, you know, I'm kind of, what's the proper way? How do you do it? And that goes for fishing or hockey or weightlifting or whatever. It's so important to be humble and admit you don't know it all.
Yeah, you're just learning. You know, I go to the gym and I watch what I eat and everything else, but a guy told me a month ago about chickpea pasta. You know, it's less carbs.
Yeah.
Not that I need it at 150 pounds, so I could probably use it for more.
He's always been like the.
You
Well, he's diligent.
lucky guy.
He's disciplined.
Yeah.
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 Well, when you're pushing 8, I'm going to be 80 in November, so.
Wow. Happy birthday coming up, man. That's going to be a good one.
Oh,
What do
he's
we have
healthy
a
as-
party
he's healthy-
here.
We should.
Yeah.
He's healthy as heck too.
I know.
But that he's earned
great.
that, you know, and he's blessed too.
But yeah,
and-
you're
and-
learning all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That is absolutely for sure. Pete, do you mind if I ask Danny a couple questions that our people have? And then I think what I'd like to do is turn it over to you two to chat just for a few minutes
Oh,
before.
sure.
Is that
We'll
okay?
do that.
Is there a legal deterrent for sea lions that you're aware of? Is there anything people can do?
Not really.
Can you
I mean,
yell at them or
Yeah, you can
jump up
yell
and
at 'em.
down or?
You know, and if you find a rock, I'm sure you could throw it. But you know what? I think you're handcuffed now.
Yeah.
And it's really tough.
Yes.
You know, I mean, even if you shot at him, just not to hit him, but just to scare him, you know, it wouldn't be a good thing. You know, it just wouldn't. So that's tough.
Isaac says, good evening, gentlemen. Late to the show, but I want to say hello to you all. PNS Harnick, is it the Cal Poly San Luis Obispo Mustangs? Is that what you're talking
I think
about?
it was originally like a semi-pro team in LA at one time.
All right.
Yeah.
Cue ball, point the rod at him, and it puts all the drag pressure on the fish. The rod eats drag pressure. Danny's completely on point. Always. Greg Bates, I've gotten all my fish on the old boat, old guy's rule. All right. Blue Sky says, Danny, a few weeks back, I thought I heard you say that you would do an actual tutorial on fishing rod angle with fishing the rail. Can you do one? We're going to do that,
Sure,
right?
we'll do that.
Yeah, we'll
We'll do
definitely
that.
do that. I'll
I
talk to
actually have it
Danny after the
quantified,
show.
but yeah.
Martin M says, hi, Danny. Do you think PIFE or silicone, pipe or silicone coated treble hooks would be a good upgrade to surface iron lures for cudas? I landed 6 and lost 5 on my last trip in the Channel Islands. No,
You know, I've never played with. You know, I like we said, I like single hooks.
yeah,
You don't hook as many, but when you hook them, it's easier to shake them off too.
that's what I
If you're
like.
gonna if you're going to release them.
On a piece, the reel you did yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, how easy it was to.
Yeah, you just grab it and just shake it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them go.
That's what I like.
You got nasty teeth.
I know.
Yeah. You don't want to be too close to them.
Yeah, it does. It makes sense. Hey, thank you, Pete. You're watching my reels. I love it, man. I feel very honored now. Rick Slater says, since pointing down low is the best rod length, does the rod length matter? I have a 5.6 Seeker roller rod with a Cal Sheets 2-speed. Am I going to be laughed at pointing the rod down?
It's gonna no, you're not. But the thing that's going to hurt is if it starts circling under the boat. You can't extend 5.6 too much, you know. And if you have an extra 2 feet, like mine are 7.6, you know, that gives you a different angle to clear your running gear with. If you're back in the stern, you got the rudder and the props. You know, if you're up in the bow, you may have the sonar dome. There's a lot of different things. But having a little extra length now that these rods are designed to fish the rail like that, is to your advantage. Where a short rod 5.6, that is short. That is short. And you know, you're going to have Wilt Chamberlain, something with an arm, you know, to get outstretched to clear the bottom gear and everything. So, you know, the length does matter on that.
All right, very
for landing
good.
purposes.
Mitchell says, by the way, there's massive amounts of barracuda 4 or 5 miles off the Long Beach breakwall. How's that sound? Do you like fishing those things, Pete? Barracuda?
I like catching anything.
You're like me.
My preference, but
Yeah.
as long as you have action, I think.
I'm telling you, yeah, that's what it is. It really is. The Lemon Brothers and Dan, we need to fish soon. It's been great. Daniel Lightfoot wants to know who is what person. Pete Demers, I guess you're talking about. Pete, tell everybody who you were. Tell us a little bit about your career.
Yeah, a 41-year career in pro hockey as an athletic trainer. And in those early days, we just we were off in the summer, and I'd go back to Rhode Island and commercial striped bass and bluefish fishing in my boat, and the Kingfisher, several of them, and I was in LA for 34 years here.
I'm coming over to put a microphone on you, not hit you or anything. People want to hear you. They're out there saying, we want to hear Pete, and they're sick of me, so there you go.
But we have a lot in common. I'm a fisherman like all the gang that's watching, and I love it.
Yep, I'm all over that. And then you guys
yeah.
can have a little conversation here
Well, you
in
know,
a second.
and Pete's taking it to a different level too.
Yeah.
You know, and we are both blessed being around some of the right people. You know, with the Shimano brothers and guys like that. Were, you know, and Loomis at the time. That was even before they acquired G. Loomis. But you know, we were able to fish state-of-the-art equipment. I think Pete. Well, that was probably some of the differences that, you know, the tackle that we had than a lot of the other guys. We had a huge edge on a lot of, you know. So that made a big difference. Fishing with the technology, you know.
All right, Isaac just threw us a $20 bill. We can go out and have a party tonight, Pete. He says he absolutely loves this show. Steve Bermudez, back in the 70s, the sport boat captains used to throw out cardboard out of the wheelhouse. For what reason? I can answer that. Well, you can answer
Mark the spot.
Mark the spot.
Yeah. And
And that was
actually,
very common.
that
How
was
about
common.
putting an X on the side of the boat? They
Taka used to take newspapers and roll them from the outside in. So it was like an inverted, well, I mean, it was shaped like a hockey puck, but it'd be about this big, but it would cup on the top, and it was cupped on the bottom. So you throw it out, and that was his rock hard marker, you know, and it would sink out. So I guess it was considered biodegradable.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
we're not condoning that, but we're just telling people what
yeah,
used
this
to
is what we
happen,
did. And it
right?
would stay, and it would just dissipate, you know,
What was the
after
thing
enough to get our anchor down and get set up on it.
Guys would like, you know, like I can remember on the Redondo special, Barney Barnes, the older guy, like, hey, throw something over fast, because he'd run over the spot. Right?
It was mock, yeah.
Yeah,
And we
it's
use these mainly for when we were rock cut fishing, so set up and
Yes.
line up on it too a lot of times. But
Yeah. Well, we already have a question for Pete Demers. I'm glad I gave you the
There we
microphone,
go.
Pete. Israel De La Cruz, Pete, who's a magnificent human being, helps people a lot, just like you do. He wants to know, what is your most memorable fishing experience with this guy, Danny Kadota?
Oh, I got so many.
Well, give us a couple.
I think that first trip on the American Angler, and Danny invited me. It was all new to me. We lift poled fish. That was unbelievable. I got pinned on the rail, and it was all completely new to me with my new gear, and I'm used to fishing with 2 guys in a boat, and all of a sudden there's 30 experienced guys on the boat, but all great fishermen.
Yeah.
So it only takes one bad fisherman to screw things up on the rail, but that was a great trip that I'll never forget.
Well, and then Pete, being the guy that he is, when you have that level of experience on the boat, he picked all that up and he's implemented in his game today, where he's at the top of his game,
Yeah.
because he's still, like all of us, he's still learning.
Yes.
Because we're still watching. There's always stuff to learn. And that's Pete. He's always been like that. That's why he continually, keeps setting the bar higher and higher. And now he's dangerous out there.
Well, you can't, in hockey we say you can't make the club in the tub.
Right.
And in fishing you might say, you can't catch them from the couch.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
So you got to put time on the rail.
Oh, absolutely.
In that corner over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But we've got. We did even some. One of the funniest trips we ever had. Pete and we fished with a friend of mine named Cecil Gamble, great fisherman. He has fly fishing world records, right? So we go in his boat, and we're at the launch ramp, and Pete being the trainer, and Cecil's a big guy. He was a tremendous fly fisherman too, phenomenal. He has backs out. So he tells Pete, "Hey Pete, can you do an adjustment?" So he goes out in the grass, has Cecil, and he's rolling him on the grass, and he's getting his back in shape, right? Popping him back in. We get in the car, and we go, "What's that smell?" Pete rolled Cecil in some dog poop. We got back up, and we just hopped up and go, "Oh my God." We had some fun times. We've had some fun times.
We had a great trip to Guyana that Steve set up.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
You told me set up. Yeah.
unbelievable.
The whole adventure of it.
Well, you fly
Yeah.
to Georgetown, then you get in a small plane, and you fly 2 hours on a river that's remote to a lodge, and they only allow a certain amount of people to fish there certain times of the year.
All catch and
And
release.
peacock bass,
Yeah.
and piranha,
Wow.
and caimans, and arapaima,
Yeah.
and we had a great time until the spider came along.
So Pete and I are bunking, and they have open windows, and we had a mesh around our beds, right? But there's a time of night I have to get up, and it's just like clockwork. I have to go take a leak, and so I take my flashlight, and I'm walking the first night, and I see this tarantula about this big walking on the, oh no, it was on the wall by the window, and it has an open window. So I'm going, oh my goodness. So the next night I get up, and I've got my flashlight, scanning the walls,
bet.
and all of a sudden I feel this squish, and I look down. I just smashed this poor tarantula. It's about this big. But to this day, I still can feel that.
I bet.
You just go, ah, oh man.
God, yeah.
But the experiences, like Pete says,
And the
you can't
wildlife
beat it.
and the monkeys are howling in the trees, and and when you stop, they let us off on the rocks to fish in the middle of the river, and all of a sudden, 3 or 4 caimans are just
Oh, wow.
coming along, and they're waiting for it. You can't swim in that river, and the water's
But
beautiful.
you can catch maybe 5 different species off those rocks. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he says, it's all the experiences, and,
Yeah, all that
that's the
traveling
best
and-
part.
Yeah.
Well, I think the beauty of Guyana too was they speak English there.
Yeah.
It's the only
They made
South
everything
American
easy.
country,
Yeah.
that they speak English.
What were they,
And
British colony at one time? Or
I
something?
imagine it had to be.
Yeah, right.
To be to be English based,
Yeah.
because everything else down there is pretty much Portuguese and.
Yeah.
But there's all rocks, all in the whole river, and these guys can navigate just by looking at the current, and they can navigate these rocks. It's amazing.
That is crazy.
No,
What a great
it's a
trip,
neat deal.
huh?
Unbelievable,
Oh, yeah.
like Pete says, and that's the nice part about it too, especially with Steve. You told me he does his homework on every country that he's gone to, so he tells you what to prepare for, tackle, specific tackle, this and that, and the one biggest regret I had in my life, Steve told me to bring a fly rod. I go, Are you nuts? You know, we're going to chase these 250-pound fish with a fly rod. But you know what? He was right, because Pete and I would throw these lures, and what happens is after a couple casts each, these big fish, these arapaima, would sink out. And it's because we're throwing these big lures and it's making a lot of noise, and their ear bones are very sensitive, right? And at that point, I said, dang it. You know, I see why he said bring a fly rod. Even if it brought, a 12 to 15 weight type rod. Because when you lay that line on the surface, it's quiet. And so you can keep stripping, and you can make multiple casts instead of two and sinking them out, multiple casts and hang them. Because once you hang them, you're sitting in about 4 feet of water or so. And the only thing around that obstruction, any obstructions are the weed line, the tules. And if they start heading into that, one of the two guys would jump in the water and get in between the fish and the weed line, and the fish would veer out. So, should have listened. So always keep that in mind. Listen to your trip, producer and your guides, as far as tackling what you can bring. But it would have been, I think because of the stealthiness of a fly rod, we probably could have kept fishing a lot of those fish. Where the
It was
blues.
enormous arapaima,
yeah.
300 pounds.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
Yeah.
and you get a picture. So you get in the water with the fish and the captain and maybe the other guy that's with you
Yeah.
holding the fish up, and then there's always seems to be someone else around, and that's the guy that's watching for these critters there.
Oh my God! Yeah, you got to keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you get too focused on your catch, right? And then get gnawed on by a.
And it's amazing because we pull up to those arapaima in the lagoons. In the rainy season, the river overflows and it fills up these lagoons, and then the water recedes, and you're left with the lagoon that's still there. And it would be a walk from here to the end of the dock, or further from the river to the lagoon. So we'd take the motor off the boat, and then we pull the boat up the ramp, and then we drag it through the jungle to the lagoon, and then we just pole around or paddle around in the lagoon with no motor, and it's real quiet.
Unbelievable experience.
Yeah,
It sounds like it.
Although I did cheat one day because we brought in the first boat, put it in, Pete helped, went back there to get a second boat, and I was making a cast and a nailed one from one of my first casts.
he wasn't even he was standing in the boat, but the boat was still on the shore, and he hooked a fish while I went to get the gear.
Yeah. He took one for the team, folks.
Oh, good deal.
That's the great trainer he is. He took one for the team.
Traveling to all these places. Well, my brother just flew in from Taiwan, and I fished with him up in the Channel Islands. But he said, "Hey, I was just in Burma, and you got to go." And I go, "Oh yeah." And he goes, "Heavy. There's a civil war going on there." And he said, one night the hotel guy, the manager of the hotel, said, "Hey, I need to talk to you. There's a curfew here, so if you go outside after midnight, they'll shoot you. So don't go out after midnight. Make sure." I go, "Oh my God, that sounds like fun. I want to go there." But yeah, I mean, it's weird stuff like that. Hey, Pete, here's a question for you. Omar says, "Hey, Pete, how did it feel being inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame? Is there any comparable fishing achievements or experiences for you personally that exceeded that?"
It's, that induction was like my 1,010-pound bluefin tuna that I caught in Canada. Fish of a lifetime. And that was a really exciting to see. And I grew up around the rink since I was a little kid. So back in Rhode Island, there were only 6 teams in the NHL, and so we'd be glued to the radio, listening to the Boston Bruins and the Rangers since my childhood. So to go to Toronto and at the induction ceremony and be there with all these legends, and then have worked with a lot of them over my career was, that's amazing. It's just I give myself a kick all the time.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Pete.
Well,
Danny?
it's well earned.
Yeah.
He's earned every bit of it and then some.
Yep.
When you know him, even like we said, even the things, and you mentioned it too. you know, the work, charity work that he
Yeah.
does. It's coming from the heart. It's
Yeah,
not
I
anything
think I
else
know that.
other than his big heart.
Yep.
You know,
It's
so my
nothing
hat's
about ego, it's just,
off.
it's about
Yeah.
just wanting to give back because I couldn't do it when I was working because it's a 24/7 job.
Yeah.
There was one trainer and one assistant, and now to give you an example, they have a director of player personnel, medical end of it, head athletic trainer, assistant athletic trainer, massage therapist,
Wow.
strength coach, nutritionist, dietitian, 2 chefs, and I did all that.
Wow.
You know, but that's what we did. That's what all of us did. So now I say the job that can be done with dignity. You don't have to wear all those hats. You can do your job just as an athletic trainer.
Yeah, that is great. Steve Bermuda says, back in the 70s, the sportboat captains used to throw, oh, we already did that one, I'm sorry. Emmanuel Navedo says, good evening, guys. Steve Bermuda says, don't chum bait, the sea lions will go away. Pijes Harnack is very grateful to me for giving Pete a microphone. He says, basically, he didn't say this exactly, but he said, Phil's got a big enough mouth. We can hear him anywhere, so. That's why I try to talk loud, but I know a lot of people, we get an opportunity like this, and we're putting a microphone on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
He's just a part of LA history.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah. Hello, McFly says, this great show is the best. I'm learning so much useful information. Thank you, guys. Wild Willie Barracuda Yellowtail is what hooked my sons on their first trip back in '96. Steve Bermudez, a question for Pete. Why is a hockey puck black? Why don't they make it a brighter color so the audience can follow? You've probably been asked that before.
Well,
right?
they did put some kind of laser on in the technology of TV
Yeah.
to follow it
remember
around.
that.
But you know, it's a contrast of the ice is white, so you want to have the opposite so you can see it. So
Yeah.
that's why it's 5.5 ounces and it's made of hard rubber. Yeah.
I never had any trouble following it. I don't know why. I guess some people do. I watched hockey my whole life, so I kind of got used to, I guess, figuring it out. But yeah, what a sport! What a great sport. We used to go to those games for like $2.75 with a student ID
Yeah.
when I was 16, and sneak in try to sneak down to get a better seat. And most of the time, the ushers in those days didn't care. They're like, go ahead.
I'll tell you a little story. I went to see Gary Vitti to pick up some stuff that he gave me for.
Tell everybody who Gary Vitti is, by the way.
He was the Lakers trainer for 32 years.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine. So we worked alongside each other. Although I'm a hockey guy, not a basketball guy. But back in the, I don't know when it was, but at one point, Mr. Cook, he was the owner of the Kings and the Lakers, built a forum and moved the team from Minneapolis, the Lakers from Minneapolis to LA, and built a forum and started the Kings an expansion team in '67. But anyway, he called me one day and wanted me to work on his back. So he came down to the locker room and put him on the table, and I was working on his back, and he said, and he had a really different kind of a voice, but he said, "We are going to sign Magic Johnson." And I said, "No, that's great, Mr. Cook. But wait a minute." I didn't say wait a minute. I said that wait a minute to myself.
Yeah.
Who's Magic Johnson? I'm just a hockey guy, you know.
Yeah, that's funny.
I never went to a Lakers game ever
Yeah.
in my 34 years with the Kings.
Not one game.
Not one game. I just, in fact, Kobe told me one time, when you want to go to the game, I'll give you my tickets. Yeah,
I'm sure Kobe had some pretty good seats.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's amazing.
Great
Such
memories, great stories. They just, as you start to tell them, they just come out, you know.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I have this story right. My mother took my whole, I forget, 7th, 8th grade class, 6th grade class to a Kings game. And she wrote Jack Hancock a letter and said, "Mr. Cook, I want to take all these kids. Is there anything you can do to help, with the price of all these. He sent her all the tickets.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he sent her 50 tickets or whatever
Yeah.
it was.
Wow.
And then she was able, like, she just told every kid, "I'll go through the concession line," and then she stood at the end and paid for everybody's concession. But I believe it was the Penguins, and I think it was in the late 60s probably.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like I was the big man because I took my whole class, but it was on Jack Hancock. He actually, I think at that time, hockey was not a big deal in LA, and he was smart enough to know that, hey, I can get these dumb kids hooked on hockey. This will build for the future.
We only had 8,000 people, so many games,
Yeah,
and then when Wayne Gretzky came,
it ruined everything for us guys who wanted to sneak down.
the Forum was rocking.
Yeah,
And the celebrities came out of the woodwork,
Yeah,
and
it's
everybody
amazing.
wanted to be a part of it.
yes, yes. Yeah, I remember. I went to some Gretzky games, but I still have a fond place in my heart for watching Whitey Whiting
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and Rogie Vachon and Nichols and Gene Carr and
Yeah.
all those guys, man. Those were great
Yeah,
years.
all great friends of mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Are they? Yeah, that's great.
I have stories about every one of them. Some I can tell, some I can't.
That is so good. If anybody has a question out there for Pete while we've got him, let's do it. Danny, how's your voice holding up?
It's
Okay?
good. It's good.
With Pete
Yeah.
here, man, I got
Hey, he helped share the strain on it, so that's good. He
know.
saved me again.
I
Well, that's
know.
what trainers do, folks. See,
That is
even
so,
your voice.
That is so good.
As long as your arms are okay, because you
yeah.
got to help me get this stuff out of the car.
Got it. No problem.
Isaac says, hit that like button, everybody, and please do share, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It's good to see you all at the end of tonight's show. Captain Cody Rogers from the Island Spirit will be here, and he's got a lot on the Channel Islands, Barracuda Bite, and so much fun. I know you're going to like that. PJ Harnick. Pete, hockey-related question. Of your years of traveling with the team, what was your favorite arena of all time? Can I take a guess? Can I make a guess? And then you tell me I'm wrong. I'm going to say it's got to be in Montreal.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Toronto, Montreal, yeah. For the crowd, New York,
Yeah.
they're just crazy. But Toronto, everybody in the earlier days, they wore shirt and tie.
Yeah.
But in Montreal, the history there,
Right.
and all the banners.
Yep.
I remember the first time I went to the Forum in Montreal. It was I was with the farm team, the Kings farm team, Springfield. I was the trainer there, and so we were playing the Voyageurs. That was the American League team, and that was they played their games in the Forum where the Canadians played. So we went in the morning. We came in from somewhere, Quebec maybe, and on the bus and unloaded the bus, and it was just me and the gear and the bus driver. The bus driver left, and after I hung up the gear, I said, I'm going to walk out. I could hear some pucks banging, and so I walked out between the benches and up to the ice, and the first guy that I saw skate by was John Beliveau.
Oh, my God.
Like, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can see that.
So, yeah, and then you look up and you see all those banners, how many cups they won year after year, and yeah.
Did you ever interact with Guy Lafleur? Did you ever have any interaction with him? Did you have a...
Well, we're all family,
Yeah.
we're all, yeah.
How good a hockey player was he?
Oh, he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But the guys that I liked, Conway, I liked
Yeah.
him. I remember when we played them in the playoffs, and we went to the airport, and we were in the airport with the Canadians, and we were at one point we were on a trip on the same plane coming back because
Really?
there was some kind of confusion, but in one of the playoff games. But I remember how Conway was all banged up, and but what a competitor. And then another favorite guy, Denny Savard, he played in Chicago.
Yes.
The little guys, like the big guys can, they're some good, big guys are good players, but it's the little guys that have the skill and the talent to carry them through long careers. Jimmy Fox from the Kings, little guy. Look what he was up against, and
Yeah.
you know, I saw every game he played.
Butch Goring.
Butch Goring, yeah, talented guy.
Yeah, the little guy.
We had to, when I was in Springfield, we had to play a game against the Quebec team just to get into the playoffs. So there was some kind of confusion there in the end of the season, and so that game went into overtime, and Butch Goring went over to the Quebec bench and told the coach. And Butch Goring, he had a little bit of a flair to him. He told Eddie Bush, the coach, "You better put your whole team on me because I'm going to get the goal." And he did get the goal.
Oh my God.
We went into the playoffs then in the American League. We won the cup. That was in 1971.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think Butch Goring was that way. He seemed like such just a nice guy that would. But that's funny to hear that.
Yeah.
I like that.
He's still around. He's doing TV analyst for the Islanders.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he went there and won 3 cups, didn't he?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, he was on that 3 straight year, the drive.
Like
for-
their trainer Ron Waske, he won 4 cups with the Islanders, and then he left and went back to work at college.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, back to a fishing question, or kind of an eating question. Either one of you two guys ever eat barracuda roe? Cryptocurrency wants to know.
I've had it, but I wasn't. To
Thrilled
me, it
with
was a little gritty,
Yeah, I'm the same.
I had it cooked,
I
yeah.
wasn't thrilled about it.
and they did it like with a teriyaki type deal and put
Yeah.
it on rice, but it was just almost gritty.
Have
for
you
me.
had it, Pete?
Yeah.
No, if I'm not there, start without me.
Yeah, you're not missing anything. Isaac is enjoying the stories. Great stories. Cue ball. Wow, Arapaima. I can't spell it, but those are amazing fish. Dinosaur fish. Let's see here. Danny, did you ever use the fly rod on the Mustang?
Yes, I have. Matter of fact, I did one of the first shows with Dan Hernandez, and I took. This is when I first started, repping G. Loomis, and so we had some of the Shimano guys on board, and this is before they even got together. Mike Spins and a couple of guys were on board with Shimano, but we had Gary Loomis, his nephew Bobby Loomis, and a bunch of us, and we went from wide open yellowfin bite on the Mustang. It was so wide open. We actually, for the first time, we pulled out lift poles, kind of like what we did on that albacore stop on Brian's boat. Pulled out lift poles. Dan was able to get footage of lift pulling tuna for the first time.
Really?
We went from lift pulling to, I says, what the heck? Give me my fly rod. A roll cast and a strip. Well, of course, anything in the water is nailed. So it was a perfect opportunity, and I just roll cast, nailed the yellowfin on the fly. And so we had that footage too. We went from lift pulling to fly rod.
Did you land that
And was
fish?
it. Oh yeah, I landed. Yeah, yeah. So it's on one of Dan's shows. He has the whole thing.
Wow.
So we have the span from lift poles to,
Fly
fly rod. So it was pretty cool. In my head, thinking, to go that span was pretty good. And the other thing was to help
Yeah, definitely.
push the tackle, the fly equipment, and everything else.
What about the albacore? You think we're going to see them, or?
Good question, Pete.
I'm hoping, and I'm still hoping because of the fact that there's a lot of information we're not getting, and with those guys with the transponders outside, the boats that were outside in that area were jig boats, right? So if you think about it like this, it makes sense too. Jig boats. You get into a good area of albacore, these guys will just turn a circle and they pick fish. They'll pick fish on the jigs all day. But on a serious bite, if you bring in bait boats, when they bring in thousands of scoops of chovies, guys in the racks, they'll do so much damage in such a quick time. It'll do what the trollers, the jig boats can do in a season. They'll do it in a day, So
Think about this now.
So it's hard to say.
I'm thinking out loud here. Right now, today, July 6th, is
Yeah.
that what this is
Yeah.
now? I think it is. This is the best barracuda bite we've seen in here. I'm talking about the LA area. You'd see that in May in most years, or June, you'd start to see the barracuda. It's late this year. Maybe the albacore late, a little late.
what are the barracuda eating?
Yeah,
Think about that.
anchovy. What did we
Gee,
have
what
for-
are those wing guys eat.
Yeah.
They don't eat deans. They're not dean eaters.
No. And we had no deans in the Channel Islands. Straight
Chove.
straight chovy. Yeah. I don't know, Pete. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
You
been
want
a
to
while.
catch one? Are you dying to catch one?
yeah, well, sure.
Me too. I really
I
am.
can just remember the last time Pete and I albacore fished. I swore off about that no limit deal
Yeah.
because we filled my ice chest. I mean, we had to put tarps in the back. But he and I are so competitive. We never stopped fishing. Remember that trip?
yeah.
Was that a ridiculous amount of fishing? I said, no more after that. We're done.
Now they lock you up if they
Yeah.
have that many fish.
That's great. That's great. Hey, Mitchell Halibut Man says, you guys sound like the best of friends, and I just know you're great human beings. Thank you so much for stopping by, Pete. Really appreciate it, and thoughts and prayers go out to Eddie Leland.
No, absolutely.
Pete,
Yeah.
thank you for stopping by.
Yep.
Not only for bringing the clothing, but for just spending some time with us here on the show. It's great. I love it.
Absolutely.
Thank
What
you.
a treat.
You're always welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is for sure. Daniel Leano says, I love hockey as much as I love soccer. He's obviously a soccer fan, but he loves hockey too. So that's great to all those hockey fans. I mean, you still love it, right?
Fun to go to work every day, and his greatest game in the world.
Yep. He says thank you to you also. Thoughts on a Daiwa reel for a jig stick, Danny? Or either one of you two guys.
What? Yeah, like Pete, I love Daiwas. I'm just not real familiar with their line. I've been using, after the Shimano deal, I've been using Accurates. So, but I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with any of their. I would talk to Frank Marauder or any of their reps. The servicing kids are all very sharp because those guys all fish, and all I know is they make great products. They all do, at that level.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Very good. Rick Slater, what's the best way to support your channel? I'll send you some money. Hey, Rick, you can contact me and you can become a Patreon member. That would be fantastic. I can help you through that. 657-227-6459. Send me a text, and we deeply appreciate you offering. That is great. Gregory Wilson, I'm sure I speak for a lot of fishermen. It's a lot better trip if everyone is friendly and works together at the rail. Also, if the crew is friendly and fun, I will fish that boat again. Couldn't agree more, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, like I said, Pete, you're spoiled, right? You go on the angler and they're calling everybody by the first name, whether they're new to the boat or they're seasoned veterans, But when you have that relationship with the captain and the crew and stuff, it just, when you become part of the family immediately, makes a huge difference on the way your trip goes.
Yes.
You're already set in a winning mode,
Yeah. I mean, yesterday on the Island Spirit, my brother and I'm still talking about it. It was so good. The crew, the captain, the galley guy, it made it we could have caught nothing and it would have been an enjoyable trip. It was just really nice.
Yeah.
That makes so much
Absolutely.
sense. Yeah. Hey, you two guys know this guy, Joe Russo. Great show, guys.
Goomba!
Tell Pete I'm sorry I missed his call. You missed your call, Pete. Let's set up a trip to all fish together. We were talking about that.
Absolutely.
Right? Get
Absolutely.
time, Joe. Plus, Joe, I need a little help with my car, so I got to contact you tomorrow.
Me too.
Yeah,
Hey, your day's set, Goomba. Goomba, your day's all set for tomorrow.
Yeah, you got Pete's car first and then mine second. Omar says, any secret celebrity fisherman stories are welcome here. Any one of you two guys want to tell a secret celebrity story? Some celebs that went fishing, athletes or anything else? Especially if it's really juicy.
Well, we went with those players that time.
Oh, yeah. Dead Marsh and Felix.
Felix
Podman,
Podman,
yeah.
Adam Deadmarsh and Felix Podman.
That was Joe ran the boat. He got
Joe Russo?
Russo. He borrowed a friend's boat that goes like 65 miles an hour, and so he's going to drive it out. And when we get to the island, I'm going to run the boat. We'll get the
And you
squid.
got two hockey players, so it sounds like.
Two hockey
Adam
players
Deadmarsh.
and Pete
Yeah.
and Felix.
Oh, yeah, and
Podman.
Felix Podman.
So you got a goalie and you got Deader, right?
Yeah.
So we're flying across in the dark, and Joe's going, what are we doing, 60?
Yeah, we're going
I mean,
fast,
we're
yeah.
ba-bam, 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 ba-bam. I think when we got to the island, I think his debtor says, man, that was worse than any hockey game I've ever played, the beating we took, right? So I said, all right, guys, Joe, get the anchor ready. I'm going to run the boat when we got to the island. I says, get the anchor ready. The anchor sheared off the bow. We were pounding and going. It tells you the extent that we were going. Snapped the chain. It was gone. Anchor was gone. So I said, well, get the spare anchor. No spare anchor. So we turned the corner, and here's this line of boats. Everybody's whacking the white sea bass. And I'm going, we can't just go in there because a lot of the guys know me, and I mean, here we
But
are in
we
a
did,
sport
they
boat.
recognized you
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So we wait. Jimmy Peterson pulls the Sport King out. They were limited. And it's back when it was one fish, right? Early part of that season. We laid along the kelp. We made one cast, and we were done. Was basically with our
Wide
first
open.
cast. Yeah, it was
But
unbelievable.
we couldn't control it, we had no anchor.
Yeah,
so
right.
So he just laid on the kelp.
One guy yelled, Danny, you know better than that. And Danny was trying to cover himself up so he wouldn't recognize
anchor.
him.
That's a great one. P&S Harnack, do you guys have a bucket list fish you have yet to catch? Second question, what would be your most prized catch? So what's the most prized catch you've made, and what's your bucket list fish? Either one of you guys want to go?
Go ahead, Pete.
Well, my prize catch is my 63-pound striped bass caught at Martha's Vineyard,
Wow.
1987. It won the Massachusetts Saltwater Fishing Derby. And then my other fish would have been that 1,000-pound bluefin tuna. But, and I only caught some small arapaima. Danny had the jackpot for the arapaima when we were in Guyana, so got to get back down there and
Yeah,
Gotta beat
yeah,
him.
yeah. Well, now we know, right? Now we know what we could do. I would bring a fly rod, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
And-
yeah, I get.
And your bucket list fish? One that you want to catch?
I'm content with catching lots of fish
Whatever they are.
every trip, whatever they are. Yeah.
Danny, what's your most prized catch?
Actually,
it's gonna be that bass. No.
well, in time probably it was probably the most notable fish,
Yeah.
and and it was dialed in back in then. But the biggest one really for the side, Pete was with me. It was that bigger arapaima we got the pictures of, and that was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, I would bring a fly rod because you and I, as competitors we we could see that the more cash you make, they sink out. But yeah, it was a big arapaima,
Hey, we're getting kicked out of here.
Oh,
But
my
we're gonna
God.
Go through a few more. Yeah, because.
Oh, we've been here. We've been here 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, we've been
2 hours.
2 hours.
What a bunch of windbags!
2 hours. and
Holy
20 minutes.
smokes!
But you know what's really fun is, for me, I like to catch a lot of fish,
Yeah.
one after another.
Yeah, yeah.
Not prized fish, not jackpot fish or anything, just a lot of fish. And Joe and I went one day out front here, found some Dorado, and so much fun. You can catch them one after another, and 10-pound Dorado, 12-pound Dorado, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, I love that too.
Oh, yeah.
Just action, right?
Yeah, action, yeah.
Yeah. Q-Ball wants to know, we're going to do a Phil Friedman, Danny Kadota Barracuda trip. Yes, I'll work on that. Don't let me forget.
There you go.
Acme, Danny, hop on my skiff and we'll pitch some rubber around the docks for some spotties. They're on the chew right now. He doesn't have to ask twice, does he?
No, I got bass gear always ready to go somewhere. Yeah.
All right, hey, we're going to have to wrap this up because the Pride was going to
Yeah.
run tonight, but he's not running. So they're
Oh,
waiting on us
okay,
at
yeah.
this point.
Okay.
Pete Demers, it was
We got the
so good to see you. Thanks for bringing more clothing down. Thank Gary Vitti for us, but more importantly, thanks for spending some time on Danny Kadota's show. It's great to see you.
Oh, it's-
Great to see you guys too.
Thank you.
you bet.
Danny, my friend.
Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in, folks. And, Pete, obviously the biggest blessing of them all. And I mean that in all respects. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.